We are live. That's right. SCW Live. The Q&A is back once again. So feel free to get in with your comments and your questions. Got a few topics I want to talk about today on the stream as well, including Hit Row returning to WWE Smackdown. Of course, that was rumored on Friday, but still was really good to see them come back as well, especially as B-Fab wasn't in the room mill at the time. So it's good to see that we've got the OG3, the original trio, back in-house. Want to talk about Monday Night Raw as well, the women's tag team tournament. Who's going to be winning the championships? Going to go through the brackets and give my predictions for the remainder of the tournament. Same with the trios championships with AEW as well. And also we'll be giving my discussion also of Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory. I've got a fantasy match card that I'm going to put with you here today. So I'm going to give you my take and my talk about that show. But first off, we will go into the comments because a couple of comments have come in already. And yeah, we'll see what we've got to say. And we'll give my take on Hit Row. Starting with Underground Temple plays in house. Hope you're doing well, Underground. Thank you for checking out the stream. Says evening, Steve. Hit Row won't be the same without Swerve Strickland, but could make a Carmelo Hayes take that spot as the leader. That's a really good shout. I can see that comparison being made. I've seen a couple of other people do this on Twitter as well in the last few days. The only thing I'm going to say about this, you can't leave my boy Trick Williams out of the mix. I think Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams together are absolutely brilliant. For me, I wouldn't separate them at any cause. But there has been takes before with Carmelo Hayes as well on Twitter saying that he would only join them if he'd be the leader. And then I think this past week, he's even said something like he wouldn't be caught with this group. So I think it could be a match if they wanted to do it. But as long as Trick Williams was in the group as well, it's the only way I would do it. But I still think if we go with Hit Row just for the second before I go to the other comments that we've got in, I do feel that it was nice and refreshing to see them back on SmackDown. At first, when I heard about the rumors, I felt to myself, were they needed? That sounds a bit harsh to say because I thought to myself, you know, look at the SmackDown tag team division. I thought, will they be a top team in that division? I looked at it afterwards and I thought to myself when they came back and thought they didn't get a fair go on SmackDown. They were really over with Triple H in NXT. Like you say, yes, they had Swerve Strickland, but now they're coming back strictly as a tag team. Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis. Top Dollar, I guess, now has another year's experience under his belt if he's been doing indies or if he's been training still. You know, B-Fab being a part of the group as well, she's a great mouthpiece for them. So for me personally, I actually felt myself after seeing them back on TV, I was quite excited to see them back. Do I see them as a top team on SmackDown? Long term, no. Short term, yes, I can see them going into the mix against the Usos, perhaps even as soon as Clash of the Castle, maybe even an Extreme Rules up until the draft period. But we'll see how it will play out. But I'm quite happy to see them back. And when you look at SmackDown, the actual depth of that tag team division is really, really strong. Hit Row's there. We've got the New Day. We've got the Usos, of course, the Unified Tag Team Champions. The Brawling Brutes are there. The Viking Raiders are there. It's a hell of a tag team division when you look at it. And there's even other teams, Los Lotharios, Maximum Male Models. You know, you could go on. So all of a sudden, SmackDown has so many tag teams, a really fresh division. It's really, really nice to see. But you've got another comment here about Carmelo Hayes as well. And it says, people were telling me that Carmelo Hayes doesn't need to be in a group and will be better off on his own. But my argument is that Big E didn't need the New Day, but look what they did for his career. That's a very good point, an interesting argument you make of that as well, because I did say there a second ago, I can see it, but as long as Carmelo's not taken away from Trick, I feel that those two are the magic pairing. And even though Carmelo perhaps doesn't need a group, like you say, perhaps with the wrong booking, if you're on your own, doesn't always work out. For me right now, Carmelo Hayes would be a sort of player that would be in the mid card, I think, in WWE. I wouldn't see him at the main event level if he was to come in. IC, US title. With regards to Big E, Vince McMahon was calling the shots, was booking the show. I think if Big E now was under Triple H, I'd like to think it'd be a different story. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. Big E needs to get healthy first before we can even get to that road. But hopefully when we get to there, I hope Big E can make a comeback and we'll have a better run in WWE when he comes back as a single star or even with the New Day. But for me, I will say quickly on Big E, I hope that however he's brought back, he can come back with a really, really strong push. Noob & in the house. Thank you, Noob. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well. Drop in a question. Let me know how you're doing. How is the start of your week treating you? And same to Martin Carrillo as well. Says good afternoon, night over there in the UK. It is a night time for me. It is a late one this evening, but it won't be as long today as what I've been doing recently. So probably look to go an hour tops with this. But of course, it depends on your questions and how long you want to keep them going for. I've got a couple of topics I would like to talk about as well. So let's see how we go through. But your first questions come in as well. well. Having Cedric Alexander in a tag team once again, but with Apollo Crews, would be great for both your thoughts. I think it would be really, really good. I mean, here's the thing. Apollo Crews has gone back to NXT. I think he could be your next NXT champion, if I'm honest. He hasn't really been pushed so strongly in recent times, but I wouldn't be surprised if, and as I've predicted, Bron Breakker to retain tomorrow against JD McDonough. I think the Bron Breakker could next go against Apollo Crews. But Cedric Alexander, if there's not a place for him on Raw or SmackDown, perhaps a tag team with Apollo Crews in NXT could be a good thing. Cedric could do with some TV time to go to NXT, get some great matches as well, some of the talent down there. We mentioned Carmelo Hayes a minute ago against Cedric Alexander. That'd be an electric match for the North American Championship. So there's definitely some ideas you could do with that. And Cedric and Apollo Crews as a tag team, I think would be great as well, because Apollo has been hanging around with the Creed brothers as well. So that could be an idea as well. Love it. Jeff Samuel in house. Jeff, how are you doing? He says, "Sup SCW. Where do you think this Loomis character is going, and do you think it can lead to a faction? And also, do you think Kofi and Woods or both is getting repackaged, or Kofi going back to the SOS character by Triple H? As for the New Day, quickly, I don't think anything's happening with them. I think they will stay the same. Yes, I know there's meant to be like a New Day funeral with the Viking Raiders on Friday. I'm not sure what I think of that when it comes to SmackDown, if I'm brutally honest, but at the same time, we'll see what it will be. But I think the New Day will come back as the New Day. Don't have to worry about a repackage anytime soon. Even we had King Woods less than a year ago, and he went back to Xavier Woods. So I don't expect that. New Day doesn't need fixing. As for the Dexter Loomis character, there's many different avenues. I did a video actually earlier today that's on the channel, which has got 4 fantasy booking ideas of Dexter Loomis and the character, where it may be going. Now, I must admit, 2 of them are my ideas, and one of them's from Jones's Checks Wrestling, and one of them is from a good friend of mine, James, from This Week in Metropolis. Now, what I'll do is, for the stream here, I'll give you my 2. If you want to know the other 2, you need to go and check out that other video. So here were my 2. I have suggested the idea that it could lead to a faction in both ideas. Could have been the first, could have been the key of bringing back The Way. Johnny Gargano was expected in Ohio last week for Monday Night Raw. Wouldn't it have been interesting if Dexter Loomis was the one to come in first? We get Indy Hartwell second. We'll follow up with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, and maybe they complete The Way with Theory in the group and help him cash in Money in the Bank successfully. So that was idea number 1 I had. Idea number 2, of course, could have been the idea of having a NXT black and gold invasion on the main roster. We had Karrion Kross, of course, with Scarlett return on SmackDown, Dexter Loomis on Raw, looking to cause havoc as well with crashing the car backstage as well, looking to take out anybody possibly that they can that's perhaps taking their spot. They've both been fired from WWE previously, so it could be this idea of trying to do a takeover in amongst Raw and SmackDown. So those are my 2 fantasy booking ideas that I'd like to see. What do I think it'll be? I think it'll just be a psychotic Loomis character, if I'm honest. I think we're going to get a heel Dexter Loomis going forward at this particular moment, and he doesn't talk either, so it'll be interesting to see what his drawings will give us now on Monday Night Raw going forwards. I hope tonight we get a little bit of storytelling of what this is leading to, but I like the cliffhangers, I like the confusion, I like the excitement, so I actually hope that this continues for a matter of another 2 or 3 weeks before we get every single answer given to us at this point. Martin Career says, at this point, would you split up Judgment Day in the draft? You could do, but I'm going to say no. I would keep Judgment Day together purely because I think they have potential. I just think that they didn't maximize their potential once they kicked Edge out of the group. And although at the time it was really exciting, some said it didn't make much sense. Probably was a bit of both when you look in hindsight. I know that Triple H is high on Finn Balor, on Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley. I think this group can work. It may, I'll just say, it may just need a change of scenery. There's a hint for you there, as I'm going to go and give you a little plug as well. This week, I've done all the videos up, so they just need to be uploaded. It will be WWE's Draft Week coming on this channel. The first teasers of what I think will happen in the 2022 draft, and that includes superstars that should move from Raw to SmackDown, superstars that shouldn't move, and also including NXT call-ups. All 3 videos I'm looking to upload on this channel, if possible, this week, and it will start tomorrow with NXT call-ups. That's the first one that will be dropping on this channel tomorrow. So there's a little plug for you. Anthony, thank you, Anthony, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Do you think they might add a third male member to Hit Row to replace Isaiah Strickland? Well, we had mentioned at the start there from Underground Temple the idea, but we could get Carmelo Hayes. I think that that is probably a good fit that would be in there. As like I said, as long as you keep Trick Williams, don't leave Trick out in the dark. I wouldn't like to see that. Trick Williams has done a great work with Carmelo. I like these two as a duo, but at the same time, to try and think of someone else that could fit in with this group, it's quite difficult. Has anyone got like a good music background in WWE? That would be the key for me because Hit Row obviously doing the raps, doing what they do in the ring. That's kind of their gimmick. It needs to fit in and amongst it. So a member of the roster would need to do that to fit this group perfectly. Could even be someone from NXT if they wanted to call them up as well. Nathan Sam, thank you, Nathan, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. How do you feel about the rules that everybody in WWE is getting repackaged, anew, or refresh? And also going back to old names, Triple H with Doudrop, perhaps to Piper Niven. We could get Nikki Cross, Austin Theory, maybe Matt Riddle. Two great questions there. First up with the repackages, superstars that need it, I think it will be a breath of fresh air for them. If you look, for example, there we go. Apologies about that. Let's take that from refresh there. Apologies once again. Like I said there, when it comes to the repackaging, I think superstars certainly may need it. I think Shayna Baszler is someone that's being repackaged without doing too much. Just getting her back to the former NXT character that we were used to, the killer. That's what Ronda Rousey reminded her she was. She's going for the SmackDown Women's Championship against Liv Morgan. We could see a torturous side from Shayna Baszler going forward. And that for me would be a really fun character to see. There's other people like, Dijakovic, who's been T-Bar for the last 2 years. Great in-ring talent. Someone that at the moment just isn't finding TV time. T-Bar isn't a right name. Retribution was a horrible gimmick. To refresh him and start him anew is a great thing as well. As for the name changes, personally for me, I'm in favor of changing all the names back. I'm sure people will be screaming Butch as well in the comments to Pete Dunne. And perhaps they won't do where they had their indie names. They might have to do some form of little changes, but to be honest, for me, as long as they have like where the names make sense, I'm totally fine with it. I think the biggest name changes that are needed, we mentioned T-Bar already. Doudrop is one that I really cannot stand. Nikki a.s.h would be another one I would change. And I mean, you could change Butch. I don't think it's criminal at this point. I've got used to the character, but maybe just Butch something, where it was Butch Dunn, or I don't know, something along that line, just to make it seem a little bit less awful than when we first heard it. C Nation Dog here says, just coming from school, hope it's all gone well for you. Education does come first, as Chad Gable would always say. Don't boo education. This video has made my day. I'm pleased about that, C Nation. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream as well. Like I say, let's know how your day's been. Hope it's been good. And yeah, getting some questions, some good old professional wrestling. Let's get some of what your takes are here today. And we've got Bama Dave in the house as well. Says, good evening, Steve. Hope you're doing well, Bama. Thank you for checking that stream, my good friend. Doing a lot of stuff on Twitter as well with the live chats and stuff like that. So people go and check those out as well when he does them. Always got a great knowledge for pro wrestling as well. Good old school fan as well. Knows his WCW, WWE. Recommend to go and check out his stuff as well. Fantastic. Martin Creel as well says, would you like to see 5-ways or 6-pack challenge matches moving forward on premium live events for the US title and IC title to have more buzzing and unpredictable finishes? Great question. I think if the situation calls for it, then why not? I feel this question may be coming from like a 2009 point of view. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here with this, Martin. Kofi used to defend a lot in 6-pack challenges back on premium live events, and I think he would actually be quite successful in these matches. And I remember WWE had a fatal 4-way pay-per-view back in the day that was unpredictable as well. I think almost every championship changed hands on that night. So for the unpredictability factor, absolutely. As from a story perspective, I don't think it's always needed. Obviously, one-on-ones always work better, but obviously, as I say, the situation calls, then why not do it? And like you said, the 6-pack challenge. Who remembers the Hell in a Cell 6-pack challenge, the Armageddon Hell in a Cell? If the situation calls for it, do it. Like you say, it's unpredictable, it's fun, it's exciting, and it can lead to unpredictable results that we don't know what's coming. Jason Michael in house. Hope you're doing well, Jason. Did Leo Resh is teasing something, maybe a new Hurt Business 2.0? And also, how do you feel about Gaza with Maxine Dupree? And Maxine Dupree goes back to LA Knight. I like how the story made sense. Yeah, it was very interesting that on SmackDown. Obviously, Los Lotharios and Maximum Male Models. That makes sense as a feud, to be perfectly honest. Whether it'll be a long-term feud, I'm not so sure. I would expect MMM to actually pick up the victory, if I'm honest, in this situation. But the fact that they went for Maxine Dupree, that makes a lot of sense. I do think they would actually be a good fit for the group. Probably look at WWE and think why they didn't do it to begin with, but hey, here we are. As for LA Knight, he's still Max Dupree for the time being. We'll have to wait and see if he will be someone that would be repackaged. It looked like he was taken away from the group under Vince McMahon. He's now back with the group under Triple H. So in the meantime, Max Dupree remains. Unless they kick him out of the group, I'd expect it to remain the same. As for Lio Rush teasing something, that was a big tease on Twitter, him with Bobby Lashley. I wonder, though, if it's just support for his friend, because Bobby Lashley is defending the United States Championship against AJ Styles tonight. To my understanding, this is a first time ever. This match was never done in TNA, which I'm shocked about. And it's, of course, we haven't seen it in WWE as of yet. So I'm very much looking forward to this match. It feels like a dream match, the fact that we've never seen it. So I expect Bobby Lashley to retain the United States Championship. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think it's more support for his friend at this particular point, but I'd love to see Lio Rush shouting Lashley, Lashley once again in a WWE environment. Anthony here says, fault. This is what is seen happening. Santos loses him, and the rest of Legado, not including Leche Lopez, get called up. Dominic turns on his father and then joins Legado. Yeah, I would be very much in favor of seeing that. It's been a heavily discussed topic, easy for me to say on this channel before. Yeah, Santos Escobar having Dominic in his group makes a lot more sense than Dominic being a part of Judgment Day. So I'd be fully in favor of seeing this play out. Angel Garza character, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Garza, like you say, to go after Maxine Dupree fits them perfectly. Like they are Los Lotharios after all. The kiss cam, maybe they can use the kiss cam in an idea, trying to see if they can make that work on SmackDown for next week and just annoy the rest of Maximum Male Models. That could be a lot of fun. C Nation Dog here saying, I think Io Sky and Dakota Sky, love it, as Bailey would say, will win the women's tag team titles. So I'm glad you mentioned that, C Nation, because that is one of the topics I did want to discuss on the video today. So what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to actually bring up the graphic for the rest of the tournament, and I'm going to pretty much go through it and say what I see and see if I agree with you. So without further ado, I'll probably have to take your comment away here for that to work at this particular moment. But as you can see here, we've got Io and Dakota already through. We've got Raquel and Aaliyah already through at this point. I expect Alexa and Oscar to pick up the victory over Nikki, a.s.h, and Doudrop tonight. And I actually think on Friday, although it makes sense for Natalya and Sonya to pick up the victory, I actually want to see Nikita and Zoe pick up the win, because I think Io and Dakota will get to the final, and then that way you've got two babyface teams there, which makes it more unpredictable when it comes to SmackDown. If you get to SmackDown and you know that it's one of Natalya and Sonya or Raquel and Aaliyah, it's kind of obvious. So for me, I would have Raquel and Aaliyah go to the final, but also the NXT team kind of is exciting because it's unpredictable. But I agree with you, Io and Dakota to pick up the W in the end there. And as we do see, no Sasha Banks, no Naomi at this stage. I do think they will return at the end here of this tournament, and I think that they will go on to challenge the winners. Like you said, Io Sky and Dakota Kai, I think, will be the ones that they will go to challenge. And to be fair, I can see that going all the way through to the draft, if I'm being brutally honest. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if Sasha and Naomi have trouble winning those championships back. Batman Dave saying, I hope we see Big E soon. I really do. In some case in WWE, I mean, obviously, just like a comeback, let us know he's doing okay. That sort of thing would be awesome to see. It's amazing he's been doing it on social media to begin with anyway. If he could do that again, we could just see him in the ring. The pop he would get would be unbelievable. So yeah, I really hope so. Loving Underground that you've brought this up as well here. Bandito versus Rey Horus at Impact Wrestling Emergence was absolutely fantastic. Signed both of their guys to Impact Wrestling contracts ASAP. Impact is a great company. Not many people give them credit. Absolutely 100% agree with you here, Underground. This was one of my favorite matches from Emergence. I thought both guys knocked it out of the park. The Triple R, what was it? The exit position match to promote Triple R going forward. Impact is the true forbidden door at this particular time, having so many different companies come in and out. And this match was a standout. If people haven't seen it, I recommend they go and check it out. Emergence overall was, I think, a really good show. And I've got to say, I'm really happy Honor No More are still together. I really thought that they were going to break up. And I will be, as I said, towards the end of this video, when the questions dry up, the last topic I will do today, I will be talking about Impact Wrestling, Bound for Glory, and my match card predictions for Bound for Glory 2022. But we're going to have to hold on just for the minute because we've got a number of questions that have come flying in. Nubico says, with Triple H now in creative control, do you think Oscar will get some recognition on the main roster? I hate seeing Oscar being second fiddle to the four horsewomen for the past 4 years. Well, I think it's an interesting point you make there, because despite actually, like you say, and you're right, outside of the four horsewomen, no woman has got even close to them at this stage. Probably Bianca Belair is the one that's breaking the fold at the second. But when it wasn't them, it was Oscar. So she usually was the next one in line to do so. There was probably a period in 2016-17 when it was Alexa Bliss. So Oscar's had that reign for the last couple of years. I feel that she will get recognition. She will get pushes. I mean, she's someone that is heavily favored in WWE. Will she be a champion anytime in the near future? Not so sure about that, but I do think a move to SmackDown could be on the cards for her towards the end of the year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her versus Liv Morgan before the year is out for the championship. So that's certainly will be some recognition, but we'll have to see how it will play out. Also, we've got Anthony saying here, fantasy book the debuts of Breaker and the Creed brothers together as a stable on the main roster. Interesting. I like that. I like that idea as a team, because Diamond Mine's been fun. But Breaker, of course, was one of the Steiner brothers. Obviously, his son, Rick Steiner, obviously. And there's a natural fit with the Creed brothers, who are kind of a cross between almost like Steiner brothers, but also a bit like the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas. So just bring them in, I think it'll be pretty awesome. You could kind of just go with the gimmick that of how Bron Breakker is. He's going to go and take people out. Creed brothers, they seem like great baby faces at the moment. So to bring them in as heels, as boring as this may sound as an answer for you, Anthony, I wouldn't have them coming in and wrecking carnage everywhere. I'd have them coming in and saying that, you know, we're here to take names and take championships, put themselves out there and put the challenge out each and every week, and put a dominant record together as a group, whether it's singles, tag teams, even trios. And yes, I do realize I just said trios. Jason saying, you know what I realized? But what if Kevin Owens joins Loomis, because at backstage he wasn't worried about the police car? And I like Owens by himself, but had me thinking, and do we see Loomis in? We'll continue this on in prison tonight, is what he goes on to say. And that would be an interesting way to have it, but it is a full week now. I don't know if they would do where they keep him in prison necessarily, but I do hope they go and revisit it, because it's kind of like, if Loomis was to turn up again here tonight, they can say, what was he doing? Why was he here? He doesn't work here. He's got nothing to do with the company. We let him go earlier this year. Why is he here? Just questions like that. And if he comes in again towards the end of the night and gets arrested, and we don't quite know that you have to find pieces of the puzzle tonight again to put things together, that would be interesting. Just even to ask the question as well, was he driving the car? Was he to do with that? It's exciting stuff indeed. The idea of Kevin Owens joining him, I think Kevin Owens was oblivious to what was going on behind him. I just think he didn't know. But I mean, if they were as a group, I mean, Kevin Owens would be more than a great talker for Dexter Loomis. For someone who doesn't talk, who needs a talker, Kevin Owens would be absolutely perfect. But yeah, I don't see that personally. Am I watching Raw tonight? Well, unfortunately not. It's a bit late my time zone. Unfortunately, being 5 hours ahead of Eastern time and 8 hours ahead of Pacific, it's not really a kind time zone for me to watch Raw live, unfortunately, these days. I'm not as young as I look, unfortunately. So yeah, Tuesday will be the time that I will watch Monday Night Raw. And when we do a next Q&A, that's when I can give my sort of reactions to what we see. But usually Tuesdays are when I watch Raw. It's just too much when it comes to a Monday night. Also, we've got Sinesh saying that Carmelo Hayes should not win the leader if hit row. He should stay in NXT 2.0 for another year and win the NXT title from Bron Breakker. Now, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, this is what I want to see happen. I think Bron Breakker will be called up to the main roster. There we go. It's a little bit of a spoiler for you for the video that's coming out tomorrow. But Bron Breakker, I think, is a shoo-in, I think, in anybody's book to be called up to the main roster. But when it comes to Carmelo Hayes, I do think another year in NXT would be great. Here's a bit of fantasy booking, because that's not any video that's booked for this week. I'd like to see Bron Breakker beat who he's going to beat at the next NXT takeover. Let's say it's Apollo Crews. And I think Carmelo Hayes should lose the North American Championship early in the evening. I think he should make an opportune moment where he says, look, I've been the A champion of this for a long, long time. Before this show goes off of the air, I am challenging you, Bron Breakker. If Bron Breakker, for example, has hurt his knee or something like that in the match, he's weakened as well, but he's too proud of a babyface to say no. They can start the match there and then. Almost like a Money in the Bank contract scenario, but just more the fact that the heel has outsmarted the sort of courageous babyface, and that way Carmelo Hayes wins the NXT Championship. Perhaps he can find a way as well to win the rematch. So they do a stipulation match, like a ladder match or something, so it favors Carmelo Hayes. A cage match, climb over the top, for example. That way, then Bron Breakker can be released to the main roster, and Carmelo Hayes stays as your NXT champion. That's something I'd be quite in favor of seeing. As always, not vodka. It's Bacardi. Jason here saying that how about Hit Row with R-Truth as a manager, like Matt deal with Private Party in AEW? Wouldn't be against it. It would give R-Truth something different to do. The only thing is, he's more of a comedy role. That's the only thing that's against it. I would hate to put Hit Row in comedy so early into their run. But if they wanted to do where have the WhatsApp stuff going on, he's part of the group. Certainly interaction in some way I'd like to see with this. I think it's a very creative idea. Perhaps if Hit Row are drafted to Monday Night Raw, let's say, in a bit of time, that would be fun to see. But maybe as a full-time shtick, unless R-Truth was to get slightly more serious, then maybe it's probably not the best fit early doors. Martin saying, do you want to see another tournament in WWE like the breakup tournament, but instead we can challenge for the IC title or US title so that NXT call-ups can become more directional? This is a really clever idea. I think that's the quick answer I'm going to say to you. It's a really clever idea because it gives a reason rather than just saying you've done well in NXT, I find a spot for you on Raw, SmackDown, earn your stripes, win the tournament. Like you say, a breakout tournament is great rather than just saying, here you go for NXT. You've got a chance to get a shot on Raw, a shot on SmackDown, the IC title, US title. If you lose, you stay down. If you win, you're up. Yeah, I think it's quite creative. I think that with the right superstars, this could really, really work. So, yeah, I mean, Carmelo Hayes has been a top name mentioned in this video so far, along with Bron Breakker. I think if one of those two were to get that opportunity, they'd stand a chance, wouldn't they? Can you imagine, by the way, Bron Breakker versus Gunther? It's an early prediction I've got for a WrestleMania match next year for the Intercontinental Championship, and it's a darn match I would love to see. David Hurley saying Nikita Lyons has a music background, but I don't see her with Hit Row. Yeah, she doesn't quite fit with Hit Row, does she? But personally, yeah, the music background is something that could work with it at least. So yeah, absolutely. Music has to be the number one for this. But Nikita Lyons, again, another one I think needs more time in NXT at this point. Definitely not ready for Raw SmackDown yet, in my opinion, even though she's in the Women's Tag Team Tournament. David also saying they'll wait till Swerve can return. They possibly may. It depends how long Swerve's under contract to AEW for. Obviously, not every contract is going to be 5 or 6 years. Traditionally, a lot of them are free. But if we're lucky, Swerve might be under a 2-year deal. He's already been in AEW, believe it or not, for about 7 months already. So who knows? We might not have to wait super, super long. But Hit Row, I do think, without Swerve, probably are going to be mid to lower card acts, to be fair, in WWE. I think they'll have a strong start, and I think then they will sort of fade away a bit as we get to sort of near Royal Rumble season. West Coast Podcast in-house, great to see you guys here. And just saying a big congratulations to you guys as well, all going to WrestleMania 39. Leave Hit Row as it is. Draft night is right after Clash to flush Vince's storylines, and we've got to save money. NXT UK should end like Cena's rap career. Absolutely. For me, NXT UK, I know that they've not got any future tapings at this particular moment. Let's be fair, NXT UK, I don't think has been financially the most successful thing WWE has ever done. Triple H has always been on board with it, and Shawn Michaels has as well. But the only thing I will say with it is that more and more NXT UK talents are coming over to the main NXT. Don't know if anyone's noticed that probably over the last 3 to 6 months. There seems to be more and more coming over. So I wouldn't be surprised, for example, when Ilya Dragunov is back and fit and healthy, he comes back over, maybe a Moustache Mountain, maybe the other sort of 5 or 6 names that they probably think, right, they've got a shot of making it. For the rest of them, I don't know. It's you don't want to see people lose their jobs, but yeah, it's not looking good for NXT UK at this point. But great to know about the draft when that's coming up. So yeah, if that's the case, then this could be the first of many weeks when doing WWE Draft 2022 videos. C Nation is saying day at school was all right. Ain't used to it because I haven't been in school since May. Yeah, it probably is a transitional period to get back to being used to it, but hopefully all is going well for you. And like I say, don't boo education. Make the most of it while you're there. Daniel Williams saying multi-man matches do well. Look at the one that day one, absolutely. And of course, one of your favorites back at 2017 as well, which was SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken, your favorite Fatal 4-Way. If I'm not mistaken, that was Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, and Samoa Joe. That was an awesome barn burner of a match as well. So multi-man matches can be good in the right moments. And of course, as long as they're not overdone all the time, like we did see a period about 3 or 4 years ago, I think they won like 2 or 5 live like every 3 or 4 months. So maybe not every 4 months, but every 3 or 4 weeks it felt like. So yeah, the right occasions, it's perfect. But like you say, day one actually was one of my favorite main events of the year, actually. So yeah, you make a great point there. Underground Temple says Io and Dakota versus Natalia and Sonya for the Women's Tag Team Championship finals. 2 heel teams. Do you know, it'd be good for Sonya, though. I could say it'd be good for Natalia as well, but she's been in and around championship matches for most of her WWE career in some format. Sonya Deville, this would be great to see. It just kind of make you feel a little bit. And here's another bit of fantasy booking for you if you want. But Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rose, if they were to come up one day, do we think Mandy and Sonya might reunite if Gigi and JC were to turn on Mandy? And they could do that in some format? That could be an idea. For me, I was to go back to answer your question, because I'm just completely going off here. What I would say is I do think that the heels, Io and Dakota, should go against the babyface team in the finals. But either way, Io and Dakota will be taking it for me. We've got here C Nation saying, do you think the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match winner will cash in on Josh Alexander and win the Impact World title at Bound for Glory? I think it should not happen. I'm going to say I don't think it will happen, no. But what I will say is I have some fantasy booking ideas which are coming towards the end of this video, as I say. And what I will say to you is that I think Moose will tease it. I think Moose will be back in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match again this year, along with Steve Macklin, along with Sami Callihan. So there's a little bit of teaser already, because those three are in a feud right now. And I think Moose will be teasing this idea before. Therefore, I think your main event of Victory Road will actually be a tag team match with Josh Alexander and Sami Callihan going against Macklin and Moose. And remember, Macklin and Moose are still not an alliance, even though they keep finding themselves in situations of convenience, let's say. Anthony, he says, if you're saying that you have to keep Trick Williams and Carmelo, has to... let's start that again, Anthony. Apologies to everyone as well. If you're saying that you have to keep Trick Williams and Carmelo, has to get her a new... put them in his room. I'm really struggling with this comment. Apologies, everybody here. Where to put Trick and Top Dollar, and then that's what happens with Ashanti. I'm completely confused, Anthony. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm completely confused with that one. Very sorry. Josh Alexander needs an uninterrupted Impact World title victory at Bound for Glory. He may or may not get that. I will give you my prediction of that very shortly as well. Central says that Roman Reigns has been the Universal Champion since I was in the 8th grade and now in the 10th grade. It just goes to show you how long he's been champion for. It is on the verge of 2 years at this point. Yeah, Roman is closing in on records that we've not seen for many, many years. Dan Williams also saying, I do think that Dom will turn on Ray. It's the best way to save him. To turn on his father is the way to go big, for it to be on a Raw or SmackDown. Absolutely agree. And I'd like to see that match on a big show when they do it. And I'd like to eventually see Dom take Ray's mask. That's what I'd like to see. Something that we've not seen Ray have to surrender since the late 90s in WCW. Martin saying, do you think AJ Styles will become once again the phenomenal one with Triple H on Raw SmackDown? Pun is intended, and as it should be, Martin. I actually think yes, he will become the phenomenal one once again. I really hope to see him in the championship picture once again, not just the US title picture. You've got a top star on your hands. Why is he not in and around the main event scene? I think one more run as top champion does make sense with AJ Styles before he retires. But Triple H, I think, will push him. At how far and where it will be, we'll have to wait and see in the next few weeks. C Nation goes on to say that Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark was a random tag team to put in the bodies in the women's tag team tournament. Yes, all about exposure, end of the day. They could have put Toxic Attraction in there, perhaps Katana Chance and Caden Carter, but they're going to lose in the tournament, and they want to see those names and those teams seen more as a threat, shall we say, later down the line, rather than seen as jobbers already. So it made sense to put Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark in this tournament. Gives them a chance to have a breakout moment on mainstream TV as well. Nikita Lyons, of course, has been causing headways, shall we say, in and amongst the wrestling community that watches NXT and spends time on Twitter. Zoe Stark has been a great, phenomenal in-ring talent since she's joined NXT. Been very unfortunate with her injury, so let's see how they get on now. WWE need one set of tag team titles. If you look at the division, it could be very special and promising to say the least. Totally agree. I personally would merge the championships at this point. That's what I would like to see happen. I know that Bama Davis said this as well, having the idea of the champion being on one show. For me, that's the idea. I think would be very good to see, because then the Usos could go to Raw and SmackDown, and then when they lose the championships, they go on the show they're meant to be on. The other team can go to Raw and SmackDown, kind of how it was back in 2002. That's what I'd like to see happen. But at the moment, we've got 8 teams on SmackDown. I'm not sure how many teams we've got on Raw, but absolutely would be totally fine if there was just one set of tag team titles. David David was saying they're arguably the 2 most over single women in NXT, and that's why they are there. Well, just a fair argument. I think that's definitely a fair argument at this point. Trying to think if there's anyone that's more. I think it's still too soon with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Although I am a big fan of both of them, I want to see that feud continue for the next year in NXT, and eventually, hopefully, with the NXT Women's Championship as well. Nathan saying, I want to ask this, but dang you, Hunter Lol. SCW, what will you do with Raw tonight? Also, what with Triple H? I would add Chavo Guerrero in with Dom, Ray, and Edge's storyline. Interesting. I'm not sure what Chavo's doing anymore. He's not with AEW, is he? I haven't seen him on AEW for a long, long time now. As for Raw this evening, what I said, I think Bobby Lashley should retain against AJ Styles. We should build more towards Clash at the Castle. Absolutely want to see at least 1 or 2 more matches added. I think that we should get Alexa Bliss and Asuka win against Doudrop and Nikki a.s.h. I would like to see an announcement for a Battle Royale for Clash of the Castle. Actually thinking about it, I've said this before, the British Bulldog Tribute, he won the Battle Royal in the Royal Albert Hall in 1991. Yes, I'm old, damn it. But at the same time, I think that it would be a nice tribute for that show, and it would get people like the men and the women that aren't getting on the show at the moment, that give them a spot on the card. Think of like a Nikki a.s.h. and a Doudrop, for example, don't get the opportunity to perform in Cardiff, Wales, put them in a Battle Royal, they have a chance to be there in front of an audience. I think that would be really, really nice to see. So yeah, that's going to be my takes of Raw, and of course Dexter Loomis. I've given a few takes on this video already, but hopefully some answers, not all answers, keep us guessing. Also, Sinister Dog, I thought Alexa Bliss was the best outside of the 4 horsewomen. I think Bianca Belair has took the place of Alexa Bliss after the 24/7 title win. Well, Alexa Bliss hasn't been a champion since 2018. Until then, maybe minus the women's tag team titles, but as a singles champion. So Bianca Belair's definitely taken over that role, and it feels that Bianca's there to stay as well. Alexa Bliss has potential to get back in that role, as does Asuka. I mean, that's probably the top 3 outside of them. Rhea Ripley looking to get into that mix as well. She's obviously had a couple of great stand-up moments, a couple of times with championships, but not quite at that same level just yet. But yeah, I'd say Bianca Belair is top. I'd probably say Asuka is still second at the moment, but Alexa Bliss could make herself into second place if the booking is right. Anthony saying, I know that you're saying to keep Kamala Hayes and Trick Williams together, but if you put them with Hit Row, what happens with Ashanti? Because I think that would put Trick and Top Dollar. Yeah, I don't know what happens with them, to be honest. I mean, that was a suggestion earlier in the video. I can see why it was put there. As I said, if I had first choice, I'd keep Carmelo and Trick in NXT for another year, personally. But I do think they stand out. They've got a great characteristics. I think with Hit Row, adding a single star in there does add more depth to the group, because someone going for a main singles championship is good. Trick Williams just being the mouthpiece can obviously assist himself in matches. B-Fab is obviously a mouthpiece and someone ringside as well. Trick Williams, to be fair, gets in the ring also, to be honest. He more than plays his part in this. It would be a good stable. It's just obviously not the first choice I would do. I would keep Hit Row as it is at the particular moment. But like I say, it's what happens in 3 to 6 months with Hit Row, and I think that's what they could do with another person coming into the group. And obviously, why Carmelo Hayes is put there is because he's seen as one of the top standout talents of the future in WWE. If you look at the whole entire NXT roster, if you go with in-ring, along with personality, swagger, championship, prestige, everything that goes about it, I think Carmelo Hayes is the most polished wrestler of everyone in there right now, and that includes Bron Breakker as well. C Nation says Rich Swann should win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match and cash in for the Impact Tag Team titles with Sami Callihan, because they have a lot of history. They do, and they had a fantastic feud as well. For me personally, I would be totally fine with seeing that, but Rich Swann, of course, does want a Impact World Championship match. He said he still never got his championship opportunity, and of course, then the way to prove it, had the match with Kushida, didn't he? Which, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't win. So yeah, Rich Swann needs to still become a Grand Slam champion. Also, would love to get himself back in towards that main event scene. Too many people in Impact have actually fallen down the pecking order at a rapid rate when they had some top main eventers there. C Nation loves and hates cliffhangers. That's the beauty of a cliffhanger. If you love it and you hate it, it's the beauty of it. That's why they are so good, because you need to know what happens next. You don't just want to know, you need to know. And that's what makes it so perfect. You will tune in next week rather than thinking, they're doing whatever next week. It doesn't really matter if I tune in or not. We've got Bama Dave here saying, who says that the police car has anything to do with Loomis? Every time I saw the car scene, women's tag teams were around. I think it's to do with Sasha and Naomi. Faults Steve. Love this suggestion. And like you say, it was Loomis driving the car. There's no evidence of that. We're putting two and two together. Are we getting five? And the idea of Sasha and Naomi doing that, that's pretty fun. That's pretty cool, because they've got to come back in some badass way. They can't just come back and say, they can come back and say, we were the tag team champions, but they walked out of Raw. There needs to be some sort of almost a bit anti-authority, and we're doing this for the people. We're doing what we need to do. Almost now, it's like, you want to do this tag team division without us. We're coming back and we're going to cause a bit of chaos. That sort of stuff will be quite interesting and fun to see. I do think they will come back as a babyface tag team though, and then the police car doesn't match up. But I love the fact that you thought outside the box here. And to be fair, I'd be very, very open-minded to this idea happening. I think it's very exciting, and it answers more questions than answers, which goes on to the last thing here with Cena's just saying about cliffhangers. This is why it's so beautiful, because hey, we're all linking Loomis to it and saying with a cliffhanger, could it be somebody else? It's beautiful. Martin saying, since probably TLC won't happen this year, instead, can you see a special event or special edition of Raw or SmackDown in December? I would love that to happen. In fact, we spoke about that briefly at the end of one of the very long streams we did recently, the idea of TLC not happening in December. So this would be a perfect way to do it. I know that Raw Roulette could have been an option to do, where we have lots of different ideas, but I think a prestige Raw or SmackDown here and there would be amazing to do, purely because, I mean, if you look at things, you said that December, it's usually a bit of a dull month. There's no premium live events. AEW does special events, what feels like every week at the minute, but they do them, every month usually. This would be fun for WWE to go down that avenue. If you can take an old concept, for example, Cyber Sunday, Taboo Tuesday, whatever you do, those sort of things, make those a part of the shows. I think that would add some excitement to the weekly TV product. So I think this is a fantastic idea, Martin. Something we should definitely keep an eye out for. And Trips, if you're watching, give Martin some credit while you're at it. Here we go. Dan Williams saying, why do you think the Lewis return has done so well on social media unexpectedly? Is it because it's easy shareable clip, or do you think it's just been a random video that got pushed? I think it's the mystery and the intrigue of everything that put together, because I must admit, like I said, I don't watch Raw live. And Steve Silk, Alex Steve, that was on this, said like the next day to me, said, right, okay, before you watch Raw, no spoilers, but when Kevin Owens talks, look in the background when others talk. I think it was the women that were talking. I think it was Control, along with then Oscar and Alexa Bliss. Keep an eye in the background. And so I kept an eye out for that. Usually for me, I don't say I watch WWE with one eye, but sometimes have been guilty of doing so. You might pick up your phone, you might look at Twitter, you might pick up Instagram, you might even check on YouTube, check how the views are doing. And then you find yourself, you've missed something. If you looked away for 2 seconds, this here is a little teaser saying, right, okay, crap, what did we miss? If people were watching Raw and didn't clock that, they needed to go back and see it. So there's a reason to go, right, I'll go on YouTube, everything's there, and the clues are put together. And is those clues adding to, 2 plus 2 equal 4, or is it 5? We're not quite sure. I think the idea as well that WWE made it seem as real as possible without making it real, because they sort of said, is that Dexter Loomis? It was very, very quiet the way that they did it. They wanted to let you know what it was without sort of giving away that, this is a complete storyline that's going on. It could have been just a wrestler that's come back that's tried to invade the show and shouldn't be there. So there's a lot of exciting things that lead to this. And I think that's got a lot of people talking. The fact that we have to concentrate on every moment of every show, the fact we've got a cliffhanger, the fact that we don't know what's going to happen next with this storyline. It's not so obvious, where I think a lot of people may say, right, this has happened and this has happened. It's quite clear we're going here. We don't have a clue with this. And I think that's what makes it really, really exciting. And that's why I'm really happy that I sort of did that fantasy booking video that I dropped on the channel earlier today about Dexter Loomis. There's 4 ideas on there. 2 are mine, one's from Jonesy, and one's from James from This Week in Metropolis. 4 very different ideas for, in my opinion, very, very fun ideas. I'm going to say that about my own content, aren't I? But for the other guys as well that have done it, I think they did a fantastic job with the ideas that they come up with. And like I say, it might be none of it. And that's what I think is really, really exciting. It's got us talking, and it's something different. It's a sort of WWE that we haven't seen for many, many years. And I think it's something special. So that's pretty much where I can leave it there. Cindesh is saying Indy Hartwell could be a talker for Dexter Loomis and Index be heels for the first time together. Absolutely, and would be in favour of it. Wouldn't mind seeing it whatsoever. I think it'd be a good move, actually. How do I feel about the call about this call up? Chad Gable with the Creed brothers also get the Olympic stable. We can also get Indy Hartwell to join Control and uh, Lorraine jealous if she was to return, and also goes on to say about Alba Fire. Alba Fire would be a great fit. She's established. She was a former NXT UK Women's Champion for a long, long time, so they clearly know how to book a Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I think Triple H would find a good use for on the main roster in some format. We could talk in stables, just join Nikki a.s.h and Doudrop, for example, or there could be rivals. One or the other would be quite fun. As for check in with the Creed brothers, absolutely love it. Add to the Alpha Academy. Think that'd be really, really fun. I still want Otis in the mix, though. I like Otis a part of it. I don't know. It just really worked for me, Alpha Academy, But Indy Hartwell, John and Control could do it. Why not? But I would prefer Index if it was my personal opinion now that we do have Dexter Loomis back. Hit Row are fine with how they are. I can see that argument and totally agree. As I said, in the meantime, that's how I would keep them for now. I think if they were to struggle in 3 to 6 months, then you need to put someone with them. That's how I would say is a final take on what I think with Hit Row. Martin was saying, seeing how things are going with talent coming back, where do you see Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes fitting by the time they also return? Pretty much where they were. I think Randy Orton will be going, if he is back by the end of the year as expected, I think Randy Orton will get his title opportunity at the Royal Rumble. If Cody Rhodes is back when he's potentially rumored to be expected, I think Cody Rhodes will win the Royal Rumble. So I think that pretty much tells you quite obviously, I think they're going to be in and around the main event scene. I think Randy Orton and Riddle will either be a team or opponents at WrestleMania. I think Cody Rhodes could be winning a championship at WrestleMania 39. Signature Dog, are you a fan of long title reigns or are you a fan of multiple time champions? For example, John Cena is a 16-time world champion and Roman Reigns has been Universal Champion for 700 plus days. Both. That's pretty much the short-term answer. I think it fits the champion. Every champion is unique to their own. We mentioned John Cena being a 16-time world champion on a couple of different occasions. John Cena held that championship for well over a year. In fact, I think his longest one was something along the lines of 13 months. He only actually dropped the championship due to injury, where to vacate it on Raw, and then No Mercy 2007, they crowned a new champion, a vacant new champion, where there was 3 champions in one night. And that's out on my retro reviews as well. That's been a show that I've recovered again since, and was a lot of fun to go and recover, and that's available on the channel now in the playlist section. But I would say that it depends on the superstar. I mean, Roman Reigns 700 days for me has been fine with one title since he got both. I think, like everybody else, I kind of thought I need to see something different going on, especially the fact that Roman's now part-timer. I think it was there full-time on Raw SmackDown. I'd feel very different about it, if honest. It needs the right person to dethrone Roman Reigns. That's my take on it. But I think when Roman drops the championship, we shouldn't get another 700 plus day champion. That's when we should sort of mix and match it a bit. Perhaps over the next 6 to 9 months, have 2 to 3 different champions with different varied lengths. Perhaps say one's for a couple of months, one is for 4 months, and one's for a few weeks. I'm fine with hot potatoing when it fits the right mood. Also, do you think that Nikita Lyons being a tag team hurts her? At the moment, I think it helps her. I don't think she's ready for Raw or SmackDown. I've seen a few of her matches, and here's my harsh comment of the day. I'm not as big a fan of Nikita Lyons as most of Twitter is. I actually think that she's got still a lot to do before she's ready to be a contender on Raw or SmackDown. I understand that if we're going to be blunt, that yes, she has a standout ability. Her finisher, obviously, the way she finishes matches, definitely gets people talking. But when it comes to the matches themselves, some of them need a bit more fine tuning before she's ready to come out of NXT. So I actually think being in a tag team at this moment actually helps her. Someone like Zoe Stark is quite seasoned in the ring, and I think actually will help Nikita gain a bit of valuable experience. And with the experience of being on SmackDown as well, will only help her. I think Nikita Lyons in the long term will be a top star in WWE, and I think that she's going to be very, very good. I just don't think she's ready yet. That's going to be where I leave that now before I go in my defense mode. Also, Underground Temple says the Messiah Seth Rollins versus the Messiah of the Backbreaker Roderick Strong main roster feud in the future. Is Roderick Strong mentioned on my NXT video? You'll have to tune in tomorrow. But I do think that would be an awesome match. Would love to see it. And I think Roderick Strong could benefit under Triple H. I'll leave that there. Patrick also saying, do you like to see the Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Kevin Owens match? They had one on SmackDown on a draft year many years ago. I say many years ago, a couple of years ago. It was a good match from what I remember. They've not had a proper feud since, but I would be in favour if Bray ever was to return. Yeah, I would be fully on board with seeing it. I wouldn't be against it at all. Kevin Owens is a great talker. Bray Wyatt is great with mind games and manipulation. Put those two things together, I think you could have a fun feud. Anthony here saying, would you rename the cruiserweight title the junior heavyweight title and the title for the wrestlers being of the weight of 185 pounds to 230? It would be something different. This is something that I actually quite like about this question because I do say bring the cruiserweight title back, do it between Raw and SmackDown, NXT as well, because you can have an established roster with the three brands put together. But to name it the junior heavyweight title, this is new, it's fresh, it's exciting. And I think that that actually would probably tick a lot of the boxes and get people invested. If people heard right now the Cruiserweight title's coming back, I think people might start labeling, oh, 205 Live, oh, it was just a pre-show thing. It doesn't matter. Bring this title in, you put it on the main shows, quickly it becomes a big deal. So like that show, Anthony. Bamaday saying longer reigns have always impressed me more than the number of reigns. In my opinion, what Roman has done is maybe more impressive than the Cena being a 16-time champ. I think that's a fair argument. And of course, yeah, if you have been a 16-time champ, you've lost it 16 times. Roman, of course, has been more than a one-time champ. But yes, I agree. It's more impressive to hold the title for that amount of days. But as a viewing spectacle on my TV screen, I wouldn't want to see 700 days each and every time someone is a champion because you want that feeling of unpredictability. I mentioned a minute ago of Dexter Lumis a million times on this video already about how unpredictable cliffhangers, excitement. Knowing the idea that someone could drop a championship every time they go into the ring is exciting. If you go in knowing, right, Roman's definitely winning, or the next champion, they're definitely winning, you know, it's not as exciting as you feel, okay, there's a chance on this one. They booked it so well that I can believe the result going either way. C Nation Dog saying, I think NXT UK should stay for hardcore fans. Well, as long as you've got paying hardcore fans, then it's fine. But if it's not making its money, then perhaps not. But I mean, I'm not fully aware of the finances, and WWE clearly can afford to have NXT UK. But of course, they need to be doing profit from what they're doing as well. Patrick in house, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining the stream. Says why WWE is not signing a Nepali wrestler from Nepal. I don't know. Is the answer to that one? It's a very quick and simple. That one. They should sign someone. If there was a wrestler that is talented enough from there, then they should sign him. If there isn't, then hopefully one will come along shortly and WWE will sign. Anthony here says, see, I think the issue titling it's NXT UK automatically make fans think it was just wrestlers from the UK instead of Europe. Why not have it NXT Europe? Steve Thoughts. Interesting philosophy. I mean, it started mainly with UK, but like you say, we've got Imperium, we've got Ila Dragunov, we've got people all over Europe now joining. We've had A-Kid as well from Spain also. So yeah, interesting philosophy. Why it was not NXT Europe? It could have been an idea to do. I think NXT UK probably rolls off the tongue better. That's the only answer that I have for you. And perhaps the UK scene for wrestling at the period when they started was red hot. It's still red hot in the UK, to be fair, but that point of red hot, I mean, we had so much going on, and then we got terrestrial TV, where it was going to be on our main sort of channels for every household every single week, which I believe had Stu Bennett involved on commentary. WWE started NXT UK, just wiped the lot out very, very quickly. So yeah, that's pretty much why it was done more than anything. Am I watching Raw tonight? No, it's too late for me. Unfortunately, I'm not as young as I used to be. If I could, I would, but unfortunately, I need to be up for tomorrow. But I will watch it tomorrow. Underground says NXT UK title should come over to NXT and the main roster. In my opinion, NXT UK title could be defended on both NXT and the main roster. Well, if you can't keep the brand, then yes, you should keep the title because both of the NXT and, well, all the titles in NXT are absolutely beautiful. Hell, if AEW can keep Ring of Honor, NXT can keep NXT UK, in my opinion. So yeah, do it. And to be fair, the NXT UK tag team titles are featured currently on NXT TV anyway, because you've got Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs are the ones holding them at present. Anthony saying, how would you book WWE style version of the Bound for Glory series? That's interesting because we've not had the Bound for Glory series in Impact Wrestling for many years. So I'd like to see WWE actually introduce something like that in there. Would be great. It's the point system, isn't it? The league tally, and then you have like a knockout phase towards the end. Yeah, I'd be fine with seeing it. Obviously, it needs to be easy for the casual viewer to follow what's going on. I did feel sometimes you could easily get lost. So I think the difference with WWE style, how they did in Impact Wrestling, didn't have like 8 superstars in Impact Wrestling involved in that. I would do smaller round robin rounds like they did with the Cruiserweight Championship back in 2020 during the pandemic. Do that and then sort of almost like a G1 if you want. That would be my way if WWE were to do it. Do I see Triple H signing from Impact in the future? Yes. I think there are a few talents in Impact Wrestling that would be definitely would be bright stars in WWE. I don't know about top stars, but bright stars definitely. Josh Alexander for me is head and shoulders above the rest at this particular moment. Would they ever sign Diana Peraza back? Would be interesting to see. I think Diana would have a definite, much better run second time around if she was to be signed. Although, from my understanding of people that have spoken. I'm not sure there would be interest there in her going back. But of course, things can always change. That was about a year ago I heard that information. But at the same time, I would say that yeah, I mean, Ace Austin I think is a great talent. Chris Bay is another one I'm a big fan of. There are many great talents that I think that could be potential. And Speedball Mike Bailey, God, what a great wrestler. He just, every match he has just wows me in 2022. If you haven't seen any Speedball Mike Bailey, anyone in this chat, go out of your way to do so. In fact, his most recent one was against Jack Evans at Emergence. Fantastic match. Also, Trey Miguel, by the way, against all odds was another banger of a match. Also, Nation Dog here says, "Did you know that there's been a WWE title match on the Go Home show of Raw before WrestleMania? It was Bret Hart versus Psycho Sid in a steel cage match for the WWF title in 1997. I want to say." I want to say it was 97. I do remember that. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to. But yes, I did know that. But I'm guessing the year because unfortunately, I'm that old. The memory's going. Underground says, as for the NXT UK tag titles and NXT women's titles, they should unify them with the NXT UK titles. Plus, the Heritage Cup could become a yearly thing for both NXT and the main roster. The Heritage Cup would have to be brought over if it went to NXT. I like the idea of unifying it with both brands. I like the idea. It could almost be like the Dusty Classic. You have the Dusty Classic in the spring. Maybe the Heritage Cup could be done in the autumn. So yeah, like that idea, Underground. Do you see Triple H getting rid of gimmick premium live names? I hope so, Martin. I really, really do. I'd like to see, when we say gimmick ones, where at least the matches can come back when it's more spontaneous rather than it's February. Let's have the chamber, shall we? Although the chamber kind of makes sense, really, of all of them. When we look at TLC, for example, that's already been dropped. Hell in a Cell really has been watered down since it became a pay-per-view name. So things like that need to be dropped. I'd love to see other ones come in, even if they're still used. Like, for example, Bad Blood comes in and we get a Hell in a Cell match. At least if the storyline fits it, you feel, okay, it's kind of cool. So yeah, I hope that they do that, yes. Not 100% confident, no. Also, math teacher was friends with Psycho Sid. Interesting stuff indeed there. Wow, there's a bit of knowledge we didn't know. Thank you, Sinisha, for sharing. Also, we've got Randy Salmon says, I like the idea of the breakup tournament. This will have people talk on Raw and SmackDown of who is he or she. Does this person have mic personality and good in the ring? Exactly. You can evaluate. You've got a great opportunity to give them some exposure. Like you said, you have a chance you can talk on the mic beforehand. You can have a good in-ring match. I mean, we're getting that with Stark and Lions in the tournament for the women's tag team titles. But as I say here, if we do it with a breakup tournament to get a mid-card championship opportunity or a women's championship opportunity, yeah, it's a brilliant idea. It's a great way to bed people in and see if it works. For me, when they had the women's tag team titles across all 3 brands, I was always saying someone from NXT should win those titles and then come in, because in that way they can go on Raw and SmackDown. They get maybe 3 or 4 weeks on there before they drop the titles, and you can see for that month, do they fit in? Are they getting over? That's something that it's really, really nice to see. And that's where you can get new stars built in for WWE. It's all about finding the organic connection with the audience. Thank you for everyone that's watching so far. If you haven't already, please drop a like on the video as well. It really does help channel grow a long way, and keep questions coming in for the meantime. We'll keep them going for now. And we've got C Nation here saying, I think that Dominic Mysterio should have turned on Rey Mysterio on Rey Mysterio's 20th WWE anniversary, a missed opportunity. Yeah, you could argue a missed opportunity on that. That would have been a good place to do it. My only thing with that is I didn't want Dominic to join Judgment Day. If he didn't join Judgment Day, totally fine with it. But in the meantime, I'm happy Rhea Ripley is destroying Dominic Mysterio every single week. It is an absolute joy to watch. Is Vince McMahon planning to bury Gunter? Apparently the rumors were so. Yes, I haven't seen the full reports on this yet, so this is a little bit of guesswork from the little things I've seen online. Please, anyone that knows, correct me if I'm wrong with what I'm about to say. My belief is that Vince McMahon was not too pleased with something he saw with Gunther. I believe on the July 4th edition of Monday Night Raw, he was about a month away from being completely buried before our very eyes, whether that had been dropping the Intercontinental Championship, probably losing 2-minute matches, pretty much showing that Vince McMahon didn't deserve to have nice things like Gunther on the main roster. I'm so pleased that that has not happened. As you can see, Gunther has been absolutely fine with the transition to Triple H. Had a great main event last week against Shinsuke Nakamura on SmackDown. I thought it was a phenomenal match for the IC title. I think Gunther will be the IC champion for a long, long time, and I even think he'll be a future world champion. Thank goodness for the reasons that needed it to be done, but from a creative standpoint as well for Gunther, I'm happy about it as well. Nathan Sam saying, how do you feel about this Starks and Hobbs feud in AEW? And also, do you like the Sonny Kiss turn heel and join the Dude Busters or Trust Busters, I believe they're called, Davari? And also, is Brian's teasing Garcia to join the Blackpool Combat Club, which makes sense? Yes, 3 questions there. Let's answer them as best I can. Starks and Hobbs, loving it. I love the way they've transitioned Starks into a babyface. I do think he's got potential to become a top babyface in AEW if booked correctly. Starks and Hobbs, I do believe, will be AEW All Out. As for the Sonny Kiss turn, I thought it was different. I didn't see it coming. My only problem with that group, the group feels very random. That's all. I'm not sure about this Slim J. I've never seen him before. And I'm looking at him going, what are you doing in this group? Parker Boudreaux is in this group, and I still think he needs a bit more seasoning before being put on TV every week, but being a part of a trio will help. But Sonny Kiss being a part of it, yeah, it's fine. It just feels a very random group. That's all I'm going to say about that. But with Daniel Bryan trying to tease Garcia of what he will do, I really hope Garcia does turn on the JS to join the Blackpool Combat Club. It does make sense. I'm expecting a classic 2 out of 3 falls match between these two this week. I wouldn't be surprised if it went 30 to 45 minutes as well between these two, because they talked about Garcia having an hour-long match with Wheeler Yuta, of course, one of the top indie matches last year. So yeah, I hope that they do go all out for these two. A respect thing that's done between the two of them, and I'd like Garcia to turn babyface afterwards, because you've got enough members in the JS. You've got Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara 2.0. You've got enough there to make a trios match there for the All Out show. You can have Brian, Garcia, and Claudio or Wheeler Yuta, one of those guys, going against the JS. It would make a lot of sense. You can even do it as an 8-man tag team match. Is Butch going to bring back his Pete Dunne name in WWE? We'll see. I have no idea as an answer to that one. As I said, I've enjoyed Butch in his role that he's done on WWE. I think he's made the most of the opportunity, but let's wait and see. For me personally, I'm going to say that he probably may not go back to his full indie name, but maybe they might do something a little bit different. So it's still WWE owned, but it's not just Butch. Martin saying, at Clash at the Castle, would you want to see NXT UK roster invade the show without ruining the matches at the show? Yes and no. I think, again, the Battle Royale idea that I've said, I think would be the best way to actually put them on the show rather than actually invade it. NXT UK, no one's going to really know who they are, and I think that's the real disappointment with it. It would be fun for the UK crowd, but I think once you get back to the States, to Raw and SmackDown, I could see that it would go pretty south pretty quickly. Although I have faith in Triple H's booking, I still don't think, for me, it'd be something that I personally would want to see happen. But I would like to see them get their opportunity to compete on that show in a big stadium as well, WWE branded. I think it would be pretty special for everyone involved. Sinisha says, do you think Triple H was going to have NXT Japan and other NXT country stuff before the, let's go with COVID, happened? I think it would have done. Absolutely, but as David's going to say here, he wanted NXT Australia for sure. Japan was in the works. I believe NXT India was in the works. So I do think it was going to happen. Yes, I think the pandemic did stop a lot of plans that WWE and Triple H had. They may come back at some point. We'll have to wait and see. And Evan says, how do you feel about NXT UK maybe getting disbanded? I hope not, but who are the UK wrestlers you like to see on SmackDown? I think we're like Rampage, Brown, and Gallus. As I've said previously, we'll have to wait and see with NXT UK. It's too early to tell at this point, but of course, no tapings are expected in the near future. Of course, they just couldn't use the BT studios, but they didn't look to use somewhere else, which I think is a bit telling at this point. They could do tapings in the States. That's something we haven't don't know at this particular point, but they record for Level Up. They do NXT shows, so they could always just do recordings in a quick fire to do NXT UK in the States for the time being. But let's wait and see what will happen. Will it get disbanded? I have got no idea. Would I be disappointed if it was? Not really. I don't have time to watch it, so that's kind of my take on it. But from UK wrestlers, there's a number of great talents on that show. I'm going to miss people out, unfortunately. But you mentioned two there with Rampage Brown and Gallus, but I'm going to say Ilya Dragunov, particularly. I believe Aoife Valkyrie, I think, is a great talent from when I've seen her in the ring as well. Mustache Mountain as well, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. And actually, Noam Dar is a great little talent as well. So, yeah, there's many great talents on there. And Xia Brookside, can't forget Xia Brookside. I think that certainly would like to see her get a shot at NXT one day. Patrick was saying, do you want to see a romance angle in WWE on Raw or maybe SmackDown? We've had them before. If it fits the right characters in the right narrative, then I'm totally fine with it. But it all depends on who or what. A romance angle between Scarlett and Roman Reigns, for me, sadly not. I'd have trouble suspending my disbelief knowing that Scarlett is married already to Karrion Kross and that Roman Reigns is, of course, married himself. But of course, if you want to do for controversy that it's meant to be an affair, I mean, stranger things have happened. We've seen WWE back in the Attitude Era through the Ruthless Aggression times. So, but for me, it has to be the right names. These wouldn't be the right two for me personally. But if you can find the right names, then yeah, why not? Can't figure the right names off the top of my head either before anyone asks. Trevor Grant is working in Triple R, MLW. Alex is flirting with Le Parks. Okay, thank you for sharing that underground. You've always got it covered when it comes to this stuff outside the WWE, AEW, and Impact for me. So I do appreciate you giving me the stats when it comes to that. They were saying she's married to Cross and Roman's happily married with kids. As we mentioned before there, highly doubt that they want to blur the lines because people know too much. Edge Matanita was just the perfect storm. Exactly. I mean, it was kind of it was truth really as well at the time, at an era where we didn't know enough. At the moment now, if they want to do a romance angle, we wanted to suspend our disbelief. We've already got Sean Ross Sapp on the end of the line, already getting every bit of information needed to go out on the dirt sheets behind a paywall by Thursday. So it's very difficult to pull off in the modern day. This is off topic and non-wrestling question. What are your thoughts on the passing of a.s.h? To be honest, I'm going to be honest here. I'm not sure who that is. So unfortunately, I would say that it's a shame. It's very sad, and thoughts will go out to those who are close to her family and everybody like that. It's very sad when when we lose people in this world. It's very, very sad. Station goes on to say Dexter Lumis' character is interesting, certainly is, and very, very exciting indeed. I can't wait for Raw for that alone. Cedric, didn't he already have a tag team with Shelton Benjamin? Me personally would push Cedric as a single star. My all-time favorite match was him and Kota Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic, which got him signed. Great match between those two. Thoroughly enjoyed that one as well. Yes, he had the tag team with Shelton Benjamin, but it's been a bit on and off. I know Shelton was injured for a while. If you want to do a tag team, yeah, you can do that. If you want to do something completely different, though, Cedric and Apollo Crews you could do in NXT. There's no reason why you couldn't. But I do agree, Cedric as a singles competitor might be the best way forward in the meantime. And I think he will be sort of one of those repackaged names under Triple H. Triple H was obviously a fan. I think that, again, could be one of those low-key moves, perhaps someone to SmackDown when it comes to the draft. Impact Wrestling is underrated. It really, really is. And like I say, I will be doing Bound for Glory towards the end of this video. My prediction of what I think the matches will be at the show. Martin says, who would you rather book as your world champion, the Great Khali or Omos? Great Khali, because he was. And actually, we managed to get a couple of half-decent matches out of him, with John Cena being one of them. I believe that's a one-night stand, which was mentioned in a previous stream that we did. I actually didn't mind one of his matches against Batista either. Omos, for me, unfortunately, I think would... that would be... Can you imagine them two against each other? Bama Dave, Bobby Lashley could reunite Cedric and Shelton, but without MVP on the mic, it's going to feel off. They broke up the Hurt Business way too soon. 100% agree. Still one of my favorite videos that I've done to this day. Breaking up the Hurt Business was a mistake, and it darn right was as well. Yeah, it's a shame. There's so much mileage as a group, and yeah, just because Vince fancied breaking them up, he broke them up, and it was the wrong thing to do. Wrong place, wrong time, and it hurt a number of people in that group, pretty much, especially Cedric and Shelton. Underground says, can we make Survivor Series more important this year, please? For example, the winners of the 5-on-5 go into a fatal 5-way at TLC. Winner of the match challenges the world champion at the Royal Rumble. Or a day one. Yeah, it would be a fine idea. Would be more than up for this. It gives rewards. I think rewards would actually help with the Raw versus SmackDown ideas. So yeah, personally for me, would be in favor of it. Gimmicks are recycled a lot in WWE. A lot, they certainly are. If you go through the years, you can find plenty of examples of that. Martin's saying, will a Money in the Bank briefcase be more meaningful or become a headliner starting next year? I'd like to hope so. And I've said I think Theory should be a long time holder of that briefcase. I would keep it until Money in the Bank next year, keep it till it's right near the end, give him all the experience possible, throw him in the deep end, give him the World Championship on the very, very last day. We've never seen it happen before. Cynic Dog John Cena held the title for 380 days. Exactly, there we go. It was just around 13 months before he had to vacate that title on that occasion. There's no telling if he would have retained against Randy Orton at that No Mercy event if that match had gone ahead. C Nation, that's what I like about champions. They're all unique and they're different way. Exactly. You have to keep it unique. You have to keep it different. Each reign is different to their own, and that's what makes it kind of exciting, in my opinion, when it comes to title reigns. You can't have one better than the other. It's a long-term champion or multiple reigns as a championship. Underground got some fantasy booking in for us. Bailey, Io, and Dakota as Control versus Fight Factory. Kaylee Ray, Nikki Cross, and Piper Niven. Love it, book it. And even Bam Day says it. The Scottish Sirens love that as well. I think that's a couple of awesome names there for that idea of a faction. This comment is going to get under some people's skin, but I'm not a big fan of Nikita Lyons. Well, as I said there, she's got definitely a bit of work to do. She's over with the audience. That's the thing. To get over the audience is a big part of the battle, and that's certainly one thing she's cracked already. If she can do that on SmackDown as well, she's well on her way to becoming a top star. But I would say with you, I think that she needs to do a bit more in ring to get ready for such a position as a single star on a Raw SmackDown, even as an NXT Women's Champion. At the moment, in my opinion, she's not quite ready yet. Do you think Roderick Strong will win the NXT title ever? Would be a beautiful story if they ever did it. I think personally the answer for that, I'm going to say no, because I think NXT will be focused on talents for the future. Roderick Strong, if he's going to win another title in WWE, in my opinion, I think it will actually, but it could be on a Raw or a SmackDown. If it was NXT, North American title. Bamado says, I agree with you, Sin Nation. She's talented and she has a great character, but just not my cup of tea. What Zoe and Roxanne are doing is more my style. Exactly. Agree with this comment here. Zoe Stark, great in ring talent, but Roxanne Perez, I've got to say, is my personal favorite. I think at such a young age, she has got it nailed down to a T already. Thoroughly enjoyed a match earlier this year as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion when she was Roxy against Deonna Purrazzo on Impact TV. Want to say around January time was one of my favorite women's matches of the year. This storyline with Cora Jade has been a bit rushed, but what I would say is these two women have the potential to have a great storyline that could be Ciampa Gargano-esque if booked correctly. And if they do it from this point onwards correctly, that could be a feud that could go on for the next 12 months. I'd like it to feature the NXT Women's Championship at some stage. But yeah, absolutely agree with the comment. Mark says, speak about Severan's Messiah gimmick. If it ever comes back, who will be his new disciples? Ooh. Who does Triple H want to bring back this week? That's my answer for that one quickly. But seriously, looking at people that are not involved on TV, but I'd say Dijakovic would be a great first shout, personally. T-Bar, if you will. Trying to think who's not been getting good TV. Mustafa Ali, I think, would be good. He's great in ring talk. I know we're going with Retribution. Bear with me. I'll try and think of somebody else. But why not put Cedric Alexander as the last one there? There you go. That's 3 people I'm going to put in for this group. Nathan saying, I thought of something out of the box, but how about Riddle versus Seth Rollins in a fight pit at Clash at the Castle? Also Gunther versus Sheamus for the IC title. Book me both. I'd love to see it. I don't see the fight pit actually happening at Clash of the Castle. I don't know how quick they can transition the ring over to get it in, unless it was the first match of the show. But what I would say is I'd like to see the fight pit return at some point, and it worked really, really well with Riddle. We don't have Timothy Thatcher anymore. Maybe Thatcher will come back. Who knows? Anyway, I think that would be a good idea, but I definitely think Gunther versus Sheamus definitely has potential. Kofi in the house from Dirty Heels says it's Dirty Heels approved, and great to have you here. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, make sure to check out Dirty Heels on YouTube. Fantastic content. Roman Reigns has never lost the title in WWE fair and square. This should be the time he should do it then, when he loses those Universal titles. That's when he should do it. We'll have to wait and see as and when he actually does eventually drop those championships, or if he drops one at a time. Also, West Coast Brothers saying, David, I fully agree. There is nothing impressive about Cena being a 16-time paper jump. Is it because it's Cena, Zax? Is that what it is? I see where he's going here. Zax? let me know. Is Raw and SmackDown also happening in the UK? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know 100% if I'm going to be brutally honest. Dan, if you're still in the house, I know that he's local to where the show's happening. Clash of the Castle will be there as well. Let me know is Raw SmackDown in the area. If so, are you attending? Nation says, I bet there is some people who still watch NXT UK. There is, just not loads, unfortunately. I don't think it does that well on the network either. Nathan saying, will you get Bailey's stable control, a stable entrance, and not Bailey's theme? Maybe at some point, but I like Bailey's theme. I do like Bailey's theme, but maybe they can get a theme for Io Sky and Dakota Kai. That would be quite nice to see. So I hope they do at some point. Underground is saying, Steve W going with two of my matches I pitched for Clash of the Castle. I think they're listening though. Walter versus Sheamus and Roman versus McIntyre. They're watching too much of your content, my friend. But do you know what? Keep putting that good stuff out. That's what I say. I was saying AEW Rampage this week was rough to watch from a fan of AEW. Not a good episode this week at all. No, it was a tough watch, to be brutally honest. I think it was one of those shows where you could miss it and you didn't miss anything. If you missed anything, it was literally the opening promo. The opening match, to be fair, with Guevara and Tay Mello against Dante Martin and Sky Blue was okay, but it was literally okay. And yeah, after that, the show, yeah. And to be fair, I think it was all to build for this Friday where they're doing the trios match there as well. But as we're mentioning it, very, very quickly, let's talk about the AEW Trios Championships very, very quickly and give my take with how I think the bracket's going to play out. So we've got Death Triangle against Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. I think Will Ospreay and Aussie Open will pick up the victory. I do think the Young Bucks will get Kenny Omega or Hangman Adam Page in the end to defeat Andrade El Idolo, Dragon Lee, and Rouge. I'm expecting House of Black to beat the Dark Order. And trust us and best friends, please say the best friends. I think the final of this will be House of Black going against the Young Bucks and their mystery partner, which could be Kenny Omega, and if so, will be this week returning. Let's hope it's not Brandon Cutler. If so, then all of this brackets that I've got is completely wrong. But it'd be interesting to know your take of what you think here with these brackets. It's very exciting stuff indeed. Underground Temple, you did suggest a little while ago as well, the idea of Death Triangle, Andrade El Idolo, Dragon Lee, and Rouge potentially finding a way to get themselves in the final in a freeway against House of Black. While I think that there's certainly potential looking at the brackets with this, the only thing I have against this is the idea of a draw in the semi-final. If you draw in this tournament, I personally think that all teams should go out. But at the same time, knowing how AEW will book things, they want this at the pay-per-view. There is a realistic possibility that what you suggested on the live stream a short time ago before this bracket came out could come to reality. But I'd be interested to know what people think is going to be happening when it comes to these Trios Championships. Who are going to be the first AEW Trios Tag Team Champions? So that's something that I wanted to get in there for you. And quick shout as well to Tino's Time as well. He says, what's up, Steve? And he also did say the problem with Gunter as well was the match, was the 4th of July match with R-Truth. So there you go. That was the information for those that were looking for that earlier. I'm going to try and catch up the chat now with where I was previously. Patrick, here we are. We're back in the right place. Which one is your favorite faction, the Shield or the Wyatt family? Probably the Shield. I think that they had more success, and I think that I like the way they were brought in. 3 complete unknowns that did very, very well and was booked very, very strong by WWE. The Wyatt family had all the potential in the world. They did well for the time they were there, but the Shield were the dominant of the two. Sination saying Josh Alexander said he will stay in Impact Wrestling forever, so he's probably not going to WWE, which means he probably won't go to anywhere else either. But I'm fine with that. Josh Alexander, fine wrestler, and hell, you should build Impact Wrestling around this guy then, because this guy is there and he's a loyalist to the company. Martin's saying, would it be the right call if WWE does Raw, SmackDown, and some POEs in the States and then others in other countries to expand them in a different approach? I'd like to see it. I think it'd be fun to do that. I think to have, maximize your markets to go to other places, I think would be special. I hope this UK show isn't a one and done. That's what I'm thinking. I would like that it would be nice if we could get it at least once every 2 years, have the opportunity for the UK fans to do it. We've got a big market over here, and I think it'd be something very, very special. To have them in Canada, Australia, Japan, there's so many countries in the world that are big WWE fans. I'd like to see if there's potential that they could sell them out. So yeah, I personally would hope that it would do that approach. The only thing against it, I guess, and if I'm not mistaken, you're from the States, is that it would probably go completely out the time zones and probably wouldn't do as well with the American market. But for the Americans that are watching, and from anywhere part of the world, Clash of the Castle, of course, taking place at a very early time on Saturday, September 3rd. Are you able to watch live? Does it change your preference? Are you happy for these shows to be overseas from outside the United States? Sinatra saying about Bret Hart and Psycho Sid, it was 1997. Good to see I've got my trivia still there, just about. Shahid as well says there is possible when NXT 2.0 can come onto the roster, especially Raw. I think we will get some call-ups for sure. Will we actually get NXT invading Raw on SmackDown this year for Survivor Series? That remains to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. West Coast Bobs, I won't call her a paper chump. It's because we need that in that era, but 16 numbers is nowhere as impressive as Flair's, and probably half of them would have been contained inside Romans. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, obviously, Zax is probably not a big Cena fan, will be the start of that, but of course, Flair's was very impressive through the 80s and went over a number of decades. Cena was always the champion for a long period of time. I think both are impressive in their own way, but yeah, obviously, Cena was pushed and obviously was on two brands. I think if you had one full show, I don't think it would have been as often, or we just wouldn't have had other champions at all in WWE. Probably do the stream for about another 20 minutes or so. So we'll get as many questions in through as we can through there, and then I will look to wrap things up with the Bound for Glory. Patrick saying, what is WWE going to do with both World Championship titles at the draft for Raw and SmackDown? There are rumors they might split them. I would prefer to see Roman lose one of them rather than split them. So yeah, hopefully it will be done in the match. I'd like Roman after this show if he retains to, or whoever does it after he retains, but Roman is a better shout for it to say, look, I don't need to defend both titles anymore. If you want to face me, one title at a time, that's how you can get one of them off of Roman. Raw makes most sense for a gimmick pay-per-view. Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't change that one. That's a given. Rumble was the second biggest show of the year, biggest on the way to WrestleMania as well. So yeah, never get rid of the Rumble. That will always stay forever. Even if WWE forget how to book it, they'll keep it forever. Underground says, Dylan Price, in my opinion, is the best female wrestler on the planet. WWE should sign her ASAP. Becky Lynch for her first feud would be amazing, and to put Becky to put her over would be nice to see. Absolutely would love to see it happen. We'll have to wait and see if it ever does happen one day. That's all we'll have to say on that. But certainly would love to see it back in WWE. In my opinion, unfinished business. David saying champions travel to both shows, but they are drafted to a brand. So when they lose the titles, that's where they land. And that's what I do. And it's exactly what I do as well, Bama. Good to see great minds think alike. Patrick saying when Bray Wyatt returns, if he returns, do you see dreadlock hair or just regular hair? Whichever he prefers. I'm not too bothered either way, if I'm honest. C Nation says, I do not see Dominic Mysterio ever being a world champion after Rhea attacked him. I don't see it either, to be perfectly honest. Even if even if it had nothing to do with Rhea Ripley, I think he's got a long way to go to get to that level. Going with the Gunter stuff, Tina's time saying Vince is crazy, and Vince definitely be crazy. That's you can say allegedly be crazy, probably the best way to go with that. Keep me safe at this point. And good point. Paper Champ is too much of a compliment for Cena. Got to love that in the chat. Dominic Mysterio should go to 2.0. Well, there are a lot of perhaps more seasoned and more ready talents for Raw and SmackDown, but having the name Mysterio, having Rainbow on your side, having that experience in front of Raw and SmackDown every week, there's no reason why Dominic shouldn't improve under what he's currently doing. So personally, for me, you could do that given to NXT 2.0, but I think under Raw and SmackDown, he will learn what he can do best. I think just to keep Dominic protected, keep him in teams, keep him in groups for the time being. As we said earlier in the video, if you want to do a Legado del Fantasma, if you want to do a Judgment Day, if you want to do whatever to keep him protected when he's not with Rey Mysterio, do it. But in the meantime, yeah, just keep him protected until he's ready to go out on his own. Underground says Balor, Priest, and Edge versus Bray, Dexter, and Dijakovic, something that would be amazing. Yeah, if Judgment Day still had Edge, I would be fully on board with this idea. But because Edge is now broken away, we now need a freeway with War Games. Edge is brewed with Judgment Day and Bray Wyatt with this new Wyatt family you suggested. But certainly, as a six-man, it would be awesome. Do you know that before Triple H became head of WWE Creative, WWE was going to bury Gunter because they didn't like his performance against R-Truth? Yes, we've discussed it already in the chat, and I've got to say that, yeah, I'm very thankful that that never happened because Gunter, in my opinion, is one of the best that WWE has, and I do think will be a future world champion. Patrick says AEW is like TNA, old school TNA or 2010-11 TNA, because TNA's had some good moments, not all of them have been bad in my opinion. So some of that comment could be complimentary, even though I don't think you've intended that way. But for me, AEW, I must admit, I am a fan of their product. Why do AEW have random heel turns? I think they want to keep people guessing. The thing is with Sonny Kiss, that was random of randomness. I didn't see it coming, but it gives her something to do. She had no plans, no direction, was never on TV. The thing for Sonny Kiss now is that she needs to find a way on TV consistently after this, otherwise it's a complete waste of time. But AEW, I think a lot of the ones they do can make sense. For me, when you look, for example, Crystal Cage on Jungle Boy made a lot of sense. Hobbs on Starks, you could say was random, but that was to turn Starks face. And Starks, to be fair, I think have been getting a lot of babyface reactions for a long time. So not everything is done completely randomly, even if it may seem a shock at the time. But shock can be good if you've got an explanation and you've got a follow-on story to go with it. Anthony saying having the WWE Junior Heavyweight title have an option A and option B to keep defending your title. Having option A to keep defending your title, option B, you relinquish the title, move up to the IC or US Championship. Kind of like you going there with the X Division Championship of Impact Wrestling. I mean, it is an Impact move, but if WWE wanted to do it, wouldn't be against it. But to be fair, at the same time, just going to go back to that question, actually, I've just said about the Cruiserweight Championship early in the stream, keeping it, how it doesn't feel relevant if that was to come back and how this would feel relevant. If you did that, I think people would see it as just a step over championship and wouldn't see it with credibility. So I can see arguments for and against that. And maybe I'm actually for the against, actually thinking more about it. There is a See Nation, there is a rule in AW where you have to be in a faction. Not everybody's in a faction, but it certainly helps. Patrick saying, is NXT also involved in the WWE draft? I would expect so. I mean, the last couple of years we've seen call-ups being done from NXT, so I expect the same again. I would go between, I'm going to go minimum of 6 superstars will be caught up in draft, whether that's teams, factions, or would be included as one. C-Nation Dog as well. Do you think that, oh goodness, CM, FTR, CM Punk, and FTR disband. They were a trio and said they wanted trios titles, but then CM Punk got injured. I mean, technically, they would be disbanded for the time being, yes, because CM Punk is the AEW World Champion. He wouldn't have time to spend all of his opportunities in trios championship matches. FTR at the moment have so many tag team titles, they don't need another one. If they were going to do it, why not with Wardlow? They were part of the Pinnacle. That still was a thing, arguably, if you want. So that would be the trio that should go forward. But maybe they could do it at some point when CM Punk isn't the World Heavyweight Champion. That could be the right time to do it. We don't need every trio going in the tournament at this stage. Tom Collihu in the house. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. Hope you're doing well. So hope you're good. Do you see Triple H's ascension changing now how WWE uses celebrities and part-timers? That's a very good question there, Tom. My feeling with the celebrities, I think it'll be the same. If I'm honest, the celebrities have always seemingly felt like they've been booked similar when you look through the years. Like Floyd Mayweather beat The Big Show. If you look back, Lawrence Taylor beat Bam Bam Bigelow back in the 90s. So I would look and say that I do think that when we see with Logan Paul, for example, we've seen Bad Bunny in modern times. Who else have we seen? We've seen Pat McAfee in the ring as well. I mean, Pat McAfee did lose his match at WrestleMania to Vince McMahon anyway. He did beat Austin Theory. But at the same time, I think that celebrities tend to get the rub of the green when they're used in the ring because it's kind of for the greater good of the casual outside audience, not really for the favor of us hardcore fans. But depending on who it is and if they're impressed in the ring, I think more and more, I think fans might get more on board with this in 2022 than they ever have previously. But with part-timers, I think that they'll still be used as a big deal. I don't see too much change if I'm honest, but I would say that I would like to think that we wouldn't see so many part-timers involved, like a Goldberg always being in the championship match. Perhaps Brock Lesnar could be out of the championship picture for a while, and hopefully when Roman loses the championships after 700 days, he wouldn't be someone automatically getting a rematch every time he turns up. So I'd like to think that we will get a chance of where we can start seeing new stars being pushed to the top as well, and not just relying on the part-timers, but also using them as attractions though when the time is needed. For example, WrestleMania, a SummerSlam, a Saudi show. Back in the day, we were a random question. Random ones can always be sometimes the most fun. So let's see what we got here. Shouldn't NXT talent be drafted and the Raw and SmackDown talent are getting traded? That makes more sense to me. Technically, I think you would be right because in theory, Raw and SmackDown, if you do trades, there's the same spots and keeping available on each roster. So it does kind of make sense. But at the same time, we are where we are. I kind of miss the randomized ones. You know, when we used to have a match between Raw and SmackDown, the winner got a draft pick and we saw the screen go like almost in the Kevin Dunn special where you get about 100 different camera shots in about 4 seconds with each superstar, and eventually it comes up, and then John Cena's going to SmackDown. Later in the show, he's going back to Monday Night Raw. Those were the good old days for me with the draft. Seeing someone that's already drafted to the same show being drafted back there just feels a bit of a wasted TV time for me. But I do like the idea of people being on the podiums. But personally, for me as well, rather than Fox and USA, I actually want general managers to come back. I know I'm probably in the minority, but GMs for me, they work. Their continuity to the shows, in my opinion. Patrick, do we see commentary getting split in the WWE draft? I hope not. Never say never, but I hope not. The only way I can see it happening is if, well, saying that, I mean, we have seen Corey Graves go to SmackDown, but if Pat McAfee was to go to Raw, him and Jimmy Smith together on commentary, it could work. They have enough experience now; they could do it. I have to wait and see. I personally hope not. I like them as they are. Martin saying, was not leaving Shotzi as a babyface as a missed opportunity from Vince that Triple H will fix. Hopefully, Martin. I think Shotzi, to be fair, is a great talent. I'd like to see her succeed in WWE. And personally, for me, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing her bring back the Tank, to be fair. It can work with many different audiences, including the younger audience of the WWE universe. So, yeah, I would hope that she would turn back babyface at some stage. SmackDown seems to be lacking babyfaces at the moment. Quite a lot of heels on that roster. Patrick wants to see Michael Cole on Raw commentary. Maybe we could get Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, and perhaps Byron Saxton and Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves on SmackDown. Could be a possibility. Jimmy Smith has done UFC previously, if I'm not mistaken, or some sort of mixed martial arts, so that could work. But I think Pat McAfee works because of the idea of it being on Fox, so I don't see Pat McAfee moving. I think him and Michael Cole have got a good relationship on commentary, so I don't see them splitting at this particular moment. Nation Dog does not watch NXT UK, but does watch the highlights, and that's always good. If you can watch wrestling and you enjoy it, that's fantastic in whatever format you do. I must be honest, I have no time to watch NXT UK, and I must admit I've lost the desire to watch the show a little bit just because there's just so much wrestling out there. It's impossible to keep up with everything for myself personally. C Nation saying, what if Karrion Kross is a lucky man to have Scarlett? He certainly is indeed. Underground saying, Nigel McGuinness to be drafted to Raw commentary in the draft, very underrated. McGuinness is incredible. I would love to see him come back on a show that I watch every single week because I loved him on NXT when he was there. Yeah, absolutely. If NXT UK was to fold, McGuinness is someone that needs drafting somewhere, in my opinion. You could put him with him and McAfee on the same panel. Would be quite fascinating to listen to. I'd be quite in favour of that. So there you go, Patrick. If that's a draft pick, we can get McGuinness all the way. And the C Nation is saying that WWE have had Lana be with Bobby Lashley in the storyline, and she was with Mira Rusev in real life. Absolutely. And I've got to be honest, I didn't buy a second of it. I wasn't really a fan of that storyline. Some people probably were, but it wasn't for me. I didn't really connect with it, from being brutally honest. Ed Fries in the house says, sorry, he's late. You're never late, Ed. Thank you for checking out the stream, and thanks for stopping by. Hope you are keeping well, my friend. And it says, what are your comparisons for Dexter Lumis in terms of a character from either WCW or the Attitude Era in WWE? Well, I can think of one immediately from Impact Wrestling, which was his character, Samuel Shaw. If I'm going to go with someone from that period, I would go with Diamond Dallas Page, who was a stalker gimmick going after The Undertaker and his wife at the time. Didn't work out too well for DDP in the end. Hopefully it works out better for Dexter Lumis. Patrick also saying, do you like to see Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Wade Barrett on commentary? That'd be fun. I would not be against it whatsoever. I think Wade Barrett is hugely underrated. If Wade Barrett was on Raw and SmackDown and McGuinness went to NXT, we'd be totally fine with that as well. Josh Alexander is underrated. People always saying that Moose is so talented, but so is Josh Alexander. I agree, both incredibly underrated and both incredible talents. Impact deserves more love, and I'm going to plug it one more time towards the end of this video, which will be, well, hopefully in around about 15 minutes time, I will be going to that. I'm going to go through all the questions now. So whatever questions are in, let me try and go through those so I've got a chance to get everyone's questions in. I'd hate to miss any out, and then we can go with the last part of the video. Patrick here saying for the SmackDown commentary, Pat McAfee, Byron, and who on the WWE draft like to see? Well, if you were going to move Michael Cole over, then Jimmy Smith would be the one you move to SmackDown. Josh Alexander is the favorite wrestler of all pro wrestling right now for C Nation. It's a fantastic choice, incredible wrestler. Also, WWE broke up the Hurt Business because they thought Bobby Lashley didn't need Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin. They could have been right, but certainly for me, I felt that the group had more mileage. Patrick saying, when we're going to see Braun Strowman, Sasha Banks, Bray Wyatt, EC3, Fandango in the WWE return. Some of them possibly never. Sasha Banks, I think, will be imminent, to be perfectly honest. I think Bray Wyatt is the most likely of the rest of them. We've got Underground here also saying that Dexter Lewis, Candice Ray, lol, Indian Johnny Gargano, just something I thought of random. I know, random, but yeah, I know Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae are married though, so I don't know. But if you did it in amongst the way, I don't know. I feel Gargano would make it quite entertaining, so I think I'd be more on board with it, especially if it was Dexter and Candice. Because imagine like how Indy would react as well. I think that could be the most entertaining one that I've seen so far. Sinishini going saying it'd be cool to see Money in the Bank winner cash in at next year's Money in the Bank for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Absolutely, at the last possible second, I think will be absolutely perfect. We've never seen it before. Patrick saying, if they bring Braun Strowman, who would you like to see him face in WWE? He'd like to see Braun Strowman versus Omos, and Braun Strowman destroys Omos. But I think that could make sense for a match. If we're going to do it, I think we'd go with some of the newbies. I think someone like Gunther would be great to see, and Braun Breaker as well would be another one. Some of the heavy hitters, the meaty matches, will be the ones that I would select. Martin saying, going to head out, enjoy the rest of your night and fun interacting in the chat. And thank you, Martin. It's always great to having you here as well. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Patrick saying, what are they doing with Ian McMahon? Nothing at the minute, is perfectly honest with you, but I hope that they will do something with him soon. Yeah, I would like to see him perhaps maybe drafted. We'll leave it at that. C Nation says, I do not care what anyone says. Prime John Cena will always be better than Prime Roman Reigns. Hey, each to their own. I think John Cena definitely went through a grueling schedule at that time. Roman Reigns did for a number of years, but of course he's now into part-time now, just like John Cena is. Both are fantastic for very different reasons. Underground says Money in the Bank winner next year. Hear me out, Kevin Owens. I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'd be much over that. I think KO, that'd be the perfect way to get him back in the title scene, especially if he was the prize fighter. Nation, WWE already teasing a feud between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Absolutely. Could also be teasing them as partners as well. I personally would love to see that. Although, personally, I kind of feel they could be split in the next little bit of time. I'll leave it at that. It's draft season. It's really exciting when I get to do these little teasers. Nikita Lyons is an asset, if you know what I mean. Underground Temple. I think most of the chat has got you right there. C-Nation Dog also saying that I think Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks will be the first AEW Trios champions. Absolutely, unless there is a way that Hangman Adam Page does make the save at the last minute. An alternative idea could be that Dark Order makes it somehow to the final. The Bucks make it to the final, and then their tag team partner is taken out, say by the Undisputed Elite, and actually Hangman actually comes and does what's the right thing. Maybe the Dark Order are the ones that take out the partner, and Hangman says, hey, that's not fair, that's not how you do things, and actually then goes on the other side. Could be a fascinating storyline if they did that, but I just don't see the Dark Order making the final. Does not believe they beat House of Black. Also, at this point, basically, will Triple H name a general manager for both brands, including Raw SmackDown? They have Adam Pearce in the role, so I don't see it changing personally, if I'm being brutally honest. Yeah, I think Adam Pearce remains for the time being. I'd like to see them go back to GMs and name other people there. As I've mentioned, I think on Twitter very recently, I think Andre Chase would be a fun GM. See him swearing to people that just like were not happy with the ways he was booking the shows. Could be quite fun. Drew Gulak could be a fantastic GM as well. I think could do the role really, really well. Sonya Deville as well would be another one. So yeah, that's why for me. Why do Raw and SmackDown theme songs suck? Raw, I can't remember what their theme even is. I'm going to be honest. SmackDown, Ready for a Good Time. Okay with that one. I don't hate that one so much as you do. There have been some better ones over the years, mind you, but there have probably been some worse ones as well, in my opinion. What songs would you like to see, Patrick? Let me know in the comments, and we'll put them up there for you. Underground Temple says Roxanne and Cora Jade, the pairing are actually really good, but splitting them up way too soon for me. Bad booking, in my opinion. Way too soon, would agree. I would have let them be champions for at least 3 to 6 months. I would have them break up around Royal Rumble season heading into WrestleMania. Steve, are the Bucks and Omega still EVPs? If yes, you know who's winning those belts. I believe they still are. And to be fair, they've not won the first of all. A lot of things going in AEW, not the first tag titles, not the first world title. I think we'd give them a pass if they did it for this one. The Shield or the Bloodline? Oh, C Nation, now you're putting me in dark, really deep waters with this one. I'm going to say the Shield for now. A Bloodline could be if they continue their dominant reign that they've got for the next year or two, because Bloodline for me are pushing the Shield at this point. But for me, I think the Shield would still be seen by many as the one that they would pick. Imagine Raw, SmackDown in Australia, Japan, or India. They did Japan before. That was really, really special. Did Italy once as well, believe it or not. But I'd like to see it in all three. Absolutely. They should do it at some stage. I know that it'd be difficult. They probably have to pre-tape them or something like that to put it on the right times for everyone in the States. But yeah, it'd be interesting how it would go. Underground says they are no longer EVPs. Did not know that. In AEW, me personally, I want Death Triangle versus House of Black versus Andrade, Rouge, and Dragon Lee, which I pitched and I read something online regarding it. Absolutely. And like I say, there's a potential we could do it. I just hope that the tournament for me feels like it loses integrity if a team draws in the semi. There needs something to happen to make sure that they kind of cost. Maybe if another team gets involved, maybe House of Black try and stop a final contender. That's the only way I could get around it for me if I had to look to try and book it in that way for your direction. He thinks that the Undisputed Elite cost the Bucks and Omega in the Trios title tournament, leading to Cole versus Omega All Out. I mean, that's a match I would really, really love to see, so I wouldn't be complaining. White W fans is not bringing the air horn. I hope they don't bring an air horn. That would imagine the promos being ruined and stuff like that. No, I wouldn't be a fan of that myself. Would there be a bloodline without the Shield? They would be, but Roman's backstory helps his current character. 100% agree with that. Yeah, Bama, you're on point with that point, my friend. Yeah, you can't get one without the other. You'd love to see about the air horn for big matches. I think each to their own. We have to agree to disagree on that one. Cena also says John Cena wasn't a paper champion. He carried WWE through the Ruthless Aggression era and the PG era. He did, absolutely. West Coast Podcast, not a big fan. Zach's, well, one of them isn't, one of them is, and one's one in the middle. It's a three guys, great panel of their podcast. But Zach's in the chat will always happily give a few Cena digs where he can. And knowing that when Eric does check this out, Eric will be saying that Super Cena all the way. But no, I completely agree with you, C Nation. Cena has done a lot for WWE over the years. Underground, I also see Undisputed Elite versus the Elite in a Blood and Guts down the line. Yes, would love to see it. And Bam Dave also says maybe he'd be down for seeing it. How am I still 20 minutes behind in the chat? Butch should go back to being Pete Dunne. I wouldn't be against it if that was to go down. Would love to see the name change. But also, like I said, I've been fine with Butch at this particular time. The way he's conducted himself on SmackDown has been something different. Underground Temple says, I do not want the Elite to become the first AEW Trios champions. The UE versus Elite don't need the titles for that feud. Cole got his own back on the Bucks for kicking him out of the Bullet Club. Absolutely, the storyline narrative is there. And Omega is next on Cole's list. Storyline does write itself, but I just, knowing AEW, I wouldn't be surprised if that was involved. Dominic doesn't have passion. That's what he's missing. Interesting comment from C Nation. AEW is like TNA 2010 to 2011. Well, each to their own again. We have to agree to disagree on that one, C Nation. I'm personally a bigger fan of AEW than you in that case. Orange Cassidy went from beating Chris Jericho for being dominated by Sonny Kiss. Dominating isn't the right word, I wouldn't say. It was just more of a sucker punch, really. I'm sure they'll do a match at some point. I expect Orange Cassidy will pick up the W. What does it take to become a WWE superstar? Thank you for checking out the stream, by the way. I hope you're doing well. A lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, a lot of training, a lot of passion, and a lot of sacrifice. They're probably a lot of things you need to do to become a WWE superstar. It takes time and it takes dedication. It's a lot of things that I don't have, unfortunately. I do have them, but not to become a WWE superstar. The X Division title is not the Cruiserweight title. Heavy wrestlers have won the title. Absolutely, you can have, bigger stars. Samoa Joe's been one over the years. That was a great X Division champion. I believe even Bobby Lashley held it at one point. Death Triangle beat Aussie Open. We've got Andrade Rouge and Dragon Lee beat the Elite. Yui cost the Elite. Death Triangle and Andrade versus Dragon Lee ends in a no contest. Absolutely. That's the prediction there. Let's see how it will turn out. Underground, we'll see. We'll know in the next couple of weeks if that will be the way that it goes. Is Tough Enough coming back? I have no idea. I'll be honest with that. I'll keep it short and brief. I've got no idea. Fury went from being beat by Pac McAfee to winning Money in the Bank contract. Exactly. Yeah, he was in a high-profile match with a celebrity at WrestleMania. I do agree he should have won that match, but at the same time he didn't. And after that he went to win Money in the Bank. He's wanted to win the United States Championship as well. He's definitely he's done well in the last year if you look at Fury for a first year on Monday night. Underground saying as well, the House of Order, House of Black will beat the Dark Order. Best Friends beat the Trustbusters. The result of these happened of all of them. House of Black beat the Best Friends to advance to the finals with a no contest there. We'll see if that's how it will play out, and it will lead to the what Underground wants to see at All Out. C Nation saying Fury went for. We've had that one already. Apologies about that one. Also, we've got here Underground saying, "What if Veer returns and MVP's music hits? I'm coming." It would be definitely a mistake for production, but certainly will be laughing my arse off. Also, we've got C Nation saying, "I think that wrestlers should not come out with the Money in the Bank contract that much because you will forget about it, and that will make the Money in the Bank feel more special." That's a good concept. I mean, if you just keep it away, I think people would remember, but like you said, the idea of the thrill of the excitement of not seeing a cash in coming is usually quite fun. But I think all in all, people love a cash in. It usually works quite well with a lot of people. So I do think that Money in the Bank, it's fine holding the briefcase, if you want my opinion. Thank you everyone for your questions. Really, really do appreciate it. And now let's go then to what I'm predicting then. Bound for Glory 2022 taking place on August the 7th. Going to go through then and give my predictions then of what I think will be the card. So this is my fantasy match card then for Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory. We'll explain some of the matches I picked and why I've picked them as well before we end off with the stream. I'm going to start off with the Impact World Championship. I'm going with Josh Alexander to defend against Eddie Edwards. I'm so happy Eddie Edwards and Honor No More won at Emergence. I thought this group was done for. I thought that they were going to be disbanding, but now they have won here. They have the opportunity to finally have a match, and they can finally do Honor No More right and make them as the threat to Impact Wrestling that they need to. They were promised as well that they would get championship opportunities if they won at Emergence. Now we've got Victory Road in between, but it's 2 weeks before Bound for Glory, so I look at it as a filler potential show, if you want, where we can get Alexander and Edwards on the biggest show of the year. Does Josh Alexander retain the championship and keep flying the flag for Impact Wrestling, or does Honor No More take over Impact's grounds? Let me know what you think in the comments below, by the way, of some of these ideas, if it's matches that you would like to see as well. For the Impact Knockouts Championship, I would have Jordan Grace going against Masha Slamovich. I think this is really given at this point. Masha Slamovich has shown that Jordan Grace is the next target. I think she'll beat Mia Yim en route as well, who had a championship opportunity at Emergence. And I think that Masha Slamovich could be your next Impact Knockouts champion, if I'm being honest. They've pushed her so well over the last sort of, calendar year or so. So it feels at this point it would be a waste if she was to lose at the final hurdle. For the X Division Championship, kind of a dream match this one for me. We're going to have Speedball Mike Bailey going against one of the best junior heavyweights in the world from New Japan Pro Wrestling, one of the best cruiserweights in the world in Kushida. For me, I just think the two styles meshing together in the ring would be fantastic. It would feel like a big deal as well, having this for the X Division Championship Kushida at this show. We usually get Ultimate X at Slammiversary. It feels a bit too much to have it all the time. So for me, I don't think you need that on this show. And straight single one-on-one match, like I say, this environment I think would be awesome. For the Impact World Tag Team titles, of course, it means the Original Kingdom. Of course, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett going against the Good Brothers here. Will they finally win the tag team titles? We'll have to wait and see. I think this would be a good opportunity to change the tag team champions over and give Honor No More certainly a boost, as that would be the match before the main event. You'd want to put fear in the Impact roster of if Eddie Edwards could beat Josh Alexander later in the night. For the Impact Knockout Tag Team Championships, the new champions of VXT, Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green, going against Mia Yim and Mickie James. Now, of course, Mia Yim, we're not sure of her contract situation, if she's staying after Bound for Glory. Of course, she did have a feud going on with Deonna Purrazzo earlier in the year. Mickie James, of course, we've been teasing about the last match. Look, you don't have your last match in a random episode of Impact Wrestling. You do it on a big show if you're going to go out big style. For me personally, I think that Bound for Glory is a big high-profile show if she wanted to call it quits here. You could even do a loser leaves Impact Wrestling, because if Mia Yim isn't sticking around either, this could be a good way to write both of them off. And of course, VXT could get major heel heat going forward. One of the former Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Rosemary, I think could take on Jessica. Obviously, Jessica Havoc, she was brought back from the Undead Realm. She's got a new character going on. She's been wanting to party with other people. She's cost Rosemary and Tara Valkyrie the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championship. So I think this match kind of writes itself at this point, and Jessica probably would pick up the victory, but you can also give Rosemary the win as well. Also, would go with the corner shot gauntlet because, of course, you have to. Moose, of course, as I mentioned already, could be involved in this match. And like I said, he could be teasing that he's going to do the same thing that he did last year, win it. Of course, he had a convenient relationship before with W. Morrissey at last year. As he got that this year with Steve Macklin, a relationship of convenience. Like I said, perhaps we could do that. We could have Victory Road, either Josh Alexander versus Moose, or a tag team match that we've got going on right now because Sami Callihan is outnumbered. We have Sami Callihan and Josh Alexander going against Moose and Steve Macklin, with these three all in the Call Your Shot gauntlet. But Motor City Machine Guns are a perfect fit for this match as well. Both have been in and around the championship picture, would want an opportunity. Rich Swann would be another one that would want a championship opportunity, has not got one since he lost the title. Ace Austin and Chris Bay, of course, of Bullet Club, and Violent by Design, because Eric Young, if he doesn't get this win, maybe he turns on Violent by Design. That storyline is getting juicy right now in Impact Wrestling. It would be interesting as well if maybe Joe Doring or even Dina or both would eliminate Eric Young from this match. Last but not least is a very random one. I've gone Heath and PCO against Vincent and Kenny King because I believe the split is still going to happen in Honor No More, where PCO is kicked out of the group. I think Eddie Edwards will get rid of PCO out of the group, and I think that PCO then would go on to feud against Honor No More. Heath, of course, at this moment still want to get revenge for Rhino, so I think as a common interest, these two will team up to go against Vincent and Kenny King, and I would put the baby faces over in victory. And to go back then to the main event of what you could do, you could even have PCO try to cost Eddie Edwards the championship, or as an alternative, you could even have that tag team match scrapped, have three of those guys in and around the gauntlet match, and you could even add Josh Alexander, Eddie Edwards, and PCO as a three-way for the world title. But for me, I prefer Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards. So that's my card there for the fantasy card for Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory 2022. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below as well, especially if you're looking on delay also. And yeah, like I say, please like, share, and subscribe to SCW for more Impact Wrestling content and more wrestling content as we head into the biggest show for Impact going in for 2022. So let's come back to the comments then here on YouTube before we wrap up the stream. And we have quite a lot of people that say we should get rid of out of the chat, so thank you very much for that. Also, we've got C Nation Dog here saying great stream. Thank you very much, C Nation. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Also, we have here the idea from Underground Temple saying VXT versus Medium and Marty Bell, the Knockouts Tag Team titles, and the Dollhouse returns. That's a great shout because Marty Bell, not sure what she's doing right now. I think she'd be doing more NWA at this point, but that certainly could be an alternative if Mickie James is not around when it comes to the show of shows. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching the stream here, SCW Live. There's been a lot of fun as always. Thank you everyone for watching and for asking your questions as always. I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you for supporting the channel as well. It really, really does mean a lot. Like I say, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please share with a friend as well. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, this has flown by. I wasn't meant to be on here this long, but I've done it now. Look after yourselves. Take care of each other. And I'll see you next time here on YouTube. All the best. And keep an eye out as well. Like I say, this week is draft week. There'll be draft videos coming on 3 times this week as well. NXT Heatwave is on there right now for predictions, and also you can go and check out some fantasy booking ideas for Dexter Lumis and what it means with him being back on Monday Night Raw. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.